Let's hope that the internet works now. There we go. Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Acklon here, and welcome back to each one of you. And of course, if this is your first time watching over on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and also click the link in the description down below, because it is always better when it's live. Sorry, I'm just very quickly trying to figure out what goes where. It's like I haven't streamed in years, even though it's not been that long. But we are very early in the day. Didn't have a choice really, because load shedding is starting like within the next 3 hours, 3 hours and 10 minutes or so. So I don't really have a choice. It's either go live now or don't go live today. We weren't supposed to have load shedding. That's the whole point. We've had stage 2 load shedding the entire week. Blasphemous Crow, you bastard. Thanks for seeing what's up. Did really appreciate that. 10 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, we had load shedding this entire week, stage 2. And the reason they did stage 2 is because they didn't want to, like, push up the stages. They were trying to give us sort of constant load shedding at a low stage so that we wouldn't have higher load shedding. And then literally like an hour ago, they announced, oh, by the way, load shedding is going to stage 4, which means I'm off twice today. I'll be off at 6 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be off at 6 o'clock, and then I'll be back on at 8, and then I'll be off at 10 o'clock again, and then I'll be off on at 12. And then tomorrow, I'm obviously off, I think, from 10 to 12, from 6 to 8, and then again from 10 to 12. No, 10 to 12 in the morning, 6 to 8 in the evening, and then 10 to 12 in the evening tomorrow as well, if stage 4 persists into tomorrow. So it is a fucking nightmare, is what this is. Things are just getting worse, dude. I genuinely don't know what to do. It's just, things are just getting worse. CDJ, how you doing, brother? Life isn't good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Life is not fucking good. Forian, how you doing, brother? I mean, if it's not my internet, which, by the way, I think this is the worst my internet has ever been. I mean, in terms of where I live now, it's just constant. And it's not even as if the internet is always without fault. In fact, the internet is always with fault. It's just usually, like, so I have had internet problems now for the last 2 months, 2.5 months, where YouTube will take anywhere from 30 seconds to 45 seconds to load a video. Certain websites won't open, so I usually have to wait like good 5 minutes for the website to actually load up. The internet will work for the most part in terms of streaming, and then just, like, for example, this week, the internet will just go, yeah, maybe not, you know? Maybe we won't stream this week. And then you add on top of that. So if it was just internet problems, that would be one thing, right? I could deal with internet problems because I can move streaming around, right? I can move my streaming schedule around. I don't have a fixed streaming schedule for a reason, right? There's a reason why I don't actually have one. Allah, how you doing? Patilin, how you doing? Zuraina, how you doing? One of the reasons I don't have a streaming schedule is because I don't know when I'm going to stream. I try to do at least 4 to 5 days a week. So where I can, I try to squeeze in at least 4 days a week of streaming. And then, of course, whatever the fuck I can extra, if there is something to do extra. And I try to take 2 days off a week, you know, if I can. I'll try and at least get 2 days where I'm not streaming, where I'm just making videos. So I don't take off as in never work. On the days that I don't stream, for example, the last 3 days, I've spent a lot of time, like, writing scripts, looking into, like, channel metrics and analytics and stuff like that. You know, so I'm always working. I'm just not always streaming. But I try to take 2 days off of streaming a week, just so that I can sort of, you know, get all of the other work done that should be getting done. The problem is when it's internet problems and electricity problems, because then I can't even move streams around. You know, I can't even go. So, for example, couldn't stream a whole of the week. And they promised me that the internet would be fixed today. And it is fixed. Like, I haven't had problems all day with the internet. I should actually just say, I haven't had problems all morning, and then I left the house. I just got back home. and I haven't had problems yet. The internet seems stable. Natalie Frost, how you doing? Good, bro. Good. Galacron disapproves of your streaming schedule. The issue is, so I was all set. Dude, I had everything planned for today's stream. We were going to do 2 hours of just chatting, straight into Final Fantasy. 3.5 hours of Final Fantasy, into React content, and then about 2.5 to 3 hours of Stanley Parable. That was the plan for today's stream. Because Alex really wants me to play the Stanley Parable, and I want to see what it's all about. So we were going to do Final Fantasy and then Stanley Parable. It's going to be good fun. And then an hour ago, I get the push notification on my phone. By the way, you're now on stage 4 load shedding, not stage 2, like it was. If it was stage 2, no load shedding for today. Like 0. Now it's not stage 2, it's stage 4. And suddenly stage 4 introduces 2 fucking load sheds. From 6 to 8:30, and then from 10 to 12. Saying, fuck! Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, how do you plan a stream schedule around those times? It's impossible. It's a fucking nightmare, dude. Just finished a stage 4 and having a game tonight. Not fun. Alavarius, we missed this morning's load shedding because load shedding stage 4 only got announced after we were supposed to be off for stage 4. Right? So we missed this morning's one, but we're getting both of ours this evening. Anyways, have you tried to, it's not a DNS server. Gilgamesh, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. So this is not a DNS server problem. It's sort of, so here's the frustration. Whenever I contact the internet company to tell them that something's not right, they come back at me with, no, the internet is fine. Then a couple of days later, they go, oh, by the way, there's a network outage in your area. We are fixing it. I'm like, yeah, I phoned 2 days ago. Thanks for the text that now confirms what I told you 2 fucking days ago when you told me there was nothing wrong. Remember that? Right? Thanks for the text now 2 days ago admitting that I was in fact correct. So it is sort of like, and it's not fully out. That's the thing that annoys me about the internet right now. If it's completely off, I can understand it because then it means a cable broke or an exchange got broken or something happened, you know, something happened. The internet isn't off. Like this entire week, I've had internet. The issue is it won't connect to Twitch. YouTube videos take 45 seconds to a minute to load. If they even load. Websites will load, but either half load or just load and then kind of suddenly go, no, never mind. I'm not loading anymore. So it's sort of like, it's there, but it's not there. What the fuck's going on with my internet? You know, so I'm really annoyed where I'm living right now, dude. I'm getting peaked annoyed at the bullshit. As Traxton, how you doing, bro? You should just need enough batteries and solar panels. Losing electricity sucks. Unlike water, you can't store it in big buckets. Yeah, but the batteries that you need in order to store electricity is very expensive. Super Cider, well, in what time? Like, we literally have about 2 hours left of streaming. 2.5 hours. 2 hours, 45 minutes that we have to stream. That's it. And then I will be without electricity until 12 o'clock tonight. Basically. Solar system for Akko, subcall. But dude, literally one of the reasons we're looking at homes to buy now is for that specific reason. I'm not looking to buy a house because, you know, I'm moving up in the world or some bullshit like that. I'm looking to buy a house so that I can get a solar system going that I can build upon. Because I've done the whole in the past living in a rental and then trying to sort of fix the rental up to where you're happy with it. The problem is you're effectively fixing someone else's house. You know, and I'm not willing to do that. I'm also not willing to pay for the entire, like, solar panel thing and then having to remove all the solar panels right after because I'm moving somewhere else for whatever reason. So we're looking at buying a place now. Shit. Need some air there. Where the hell is the smoke? Dude, something's broken here. Okay, that is working again. Spectre Spectrum, thank you for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are far too kind. The problem with solar is usually the batteries. It's a bitch. Like, look, I'm already looking into it because in South Africa we have a bunch of companies doing all various different things. So we have one company called Go Solar that actually does. It's a very interesting concept that Go Solar approaches here. So they don't do the whole, like, there's a lot of companies obviously that you can buy solar products from, right? You can buy the solar panels, the batteries, all that shit. Been lurking for a long time, man. Time to confirm the lurking. Dude, I'm very happy to have you here. Thanks for the first time chat. Welcome, welcome. Very, very happy to have you. It's actually awesome. Do you get solar subsidies? Not really. Like, Cape Town or the Western Cape is sort of playing around with the concept of solar subsidies, but they haven't done so yet. I do know you get tax rebates. So you can actually claim back about like 100% of everything that you invest for solar. So you do get tax rebates. But Go Solar as a company, so I'll show you guys here, sort of looking at it right now. So this is Go Solar, right? Max, how you doing, brother? I think they have this system where they install the entire system on your behalf, but then you basically rent the system from them. So it's like a 7-year contract. So for 7 years, you pay them, and it works out effectively the same as what your electricity bill would have been like anyways. So if you get a system that can pull your entire house, you basically replace your electrical system, like the cost that you would pay for electricity anyways, you effectively replace that with the solar system. So you're just paying electricity, but you're paying it for a solar system. And then after 7 years, it belongs to you, right? Microsoft would like you to know Windows 11 OS is the future. Yeah, I've not updated yet. As you can see there, Windows 11 is ready for your PC. I have denied that upgrade as long as possible. I will not upgrade. I will not upgrade. There's no fucking way that I will upgrade. Why? I will let the rest of you sort of you know, taste the whole thing. And then once you've figured out all of the bullshit, that's when I'll switch, if you don't mind. But yeah, so, you know, looking into solar, but the problem is I need to own my own house before I'll switch to solar. Can't run it right now. Oh, I want to show you guys where we went to go look for houses today. Dude, this place is actually fucking gorgeous. I don't think we're gonna take homes here, but it is very beautiful. Trying to look for a nice aerial shot of the town. The houses are fine. The problem is it doesn't look as safe as it probably should do. Plus, it's nowhere near as beautiful as Swellendam. You can sort of get an idea for it at nighttime. But I wish I could see the whole... Oh, here we go. So this should give you a decent enough look at what Sand Bay looks like. Probably look at this as well. I don't have a cam, so Windows updates saying my computer isn't compatible with Windows 11. Make sure your future residential area has good internet. Solmani, so these two places, one of the reasons I'm not looking at Sand Bay, even though we went to go look for properties there, perfectly fine. It's a beautiful place. You know, nothing wrong with these properties at all. Like, I don't hate these properties in any way, shape, or form. Like, look at the fucking views. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. Traxiton, how you doing, bro?
Looks nice, though.
Because, so Sand Bay is part of this place, Hermanus, which is currently, like, Hermanus is literally the place in South Africa with, it's got, like, the most people in South Africa are moving to Hermanus. So Hermanus is, like, gorgeous, absolutely fucking phenomenally beautiful. The issue that I have is the internet that they have. I don't know the internet company. Veracast, how you doing, bro? I don't know the internet company. for Hermanus. So that's why I don't really want to move there. It's gorgeous. It really is just a beautiful city. Not a city, a town, actually. Because it gives you very sort of old... Like, it's very sort of old-style shit. Coastal areas, beware of salt corrosion on your electronics. It should be fine. I don't think it will be too bad. So Hermanus is really gorgeous. You can see there. So that's Hermanus. That's sort of... So that entire... You see the houses there in the background? That's all restaurants. It's like one giant street of just restaurants upon restaurants sitting outside looking out over the ocean. We were there today, actually. Just absolutely gorgeous. All these restaurants, just seafood places and pizza places and barbecue places, and all of them just sort of look out over the ocean. They have this entire square of just entertainment restaurants. Very gorgeous place. Very beautiful. The streets still give you a very sort of old vibe, like really sort of old mixed with new kind of thing, small town vibe. The only issue that I have with it, I don't trust the internet provider. You're going to be tempted by the food smiles every night. I mean, I wouldn't mind too much. I don't really go outside. The place that I'm more interested in at the moment. So the guy told us about a place called Vermont. It's Vermont, Western Cape. Now, I don't know anything about... I know it's very close to Hermanus, but the guy said we should buy in Vermont. Like, the guy told us to buy in Vermont instead. So that's Vermont. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's sort of this entire town is built around a lake and then also by the side of the ocean. So it's got this giant lake in the middle with like the ocean on the other side. It's very beautiful, very sort of in the middle of forests and shit. So Vermont is one place that could look at. I can't remember what the other one is. Big value of internet, electricity, continuity, and comfort at home. So electricity continuity is a non-starter in South Africa. Since all electricity is provided by the government, there's no such thing as choosing somewhere. So, for example, right now, I am living in the best place when it comes to electricity in South Africa. Because at least in Cape Town, since it's stage 4 right now for the rest of the country, Cape Town is on stage 3. So because the Western Cape sort of Cape Town, the city, produces some of its own power, they're always able to be one stage lower than the rest of the country. But that's like the best you can do. If it's load shedding, it's load shedding. There's fucking nothing you can do. Hey, Akko, are you going to America? No. Why, Angawar? Going solar, I guess your prime deciding factor would be internet access? Yes. Internet access is literally the only reason I'm moving. Is because I'm fucking fed up with the internet. So Vermont could be one place, but again, the internet service provider that they use there is a place called Lightstruck, and I've never heard of them. So I'm not sure if I should trust them. You know? Like, if I haven't heard of you, I don't know if you're good. Because it's sort of the same with the internet I have here. I have Octotel here. So Octotel is the fiber provider. I've never heard of them before I moved here. Then started using them. And I will say to anyone in the country that wants to use Octotel, don't. This is a horrible fucking internet service provider. They're bullshit. Actually, they're not my ISP. They're not my internet service provider. They're my fiber provider. Solar panels and some coin mining rigs for extra cash. Sounds good. Because Vermont is a state in the USA. No, Vermont is a town in South Africa. It's sort of part of Hermanus in South Africa. The Vermont that I'm talking about. I think you can... Oh, that's a really small map, isn't it? Trying to see now. So... Yeah, if you look here... Yeah, okay, so if you look here, I live here. You see that? Let's see if we can make this bigger. God damn it, can you not... Like, yeah, get a little bit bigger. That should be good. Okay, so I live here. You see the Somerset Waste? So where my mouse is now, that's where I currently live. Well, actually, just a little bit fucking, what's that? South? Not even south. West. I think just a little bit west. No, east, actually. A little bit east from Somerset Waste. Yes, because this is the east coast. The west coast is up here. The southern tip is here. So a little bit west from here. I live between Gordons Bay and Somerset Waste. For the Germans in chat, Somerset Waste is the largest German society in South Africa. There's like a fuck ton of Germans that live in Somerset Waste, like an absolute crazy amount. So if you drive down from where I live all the way down the coast, which is called the Whale Coast, by the way, because there are tons of whales. You drive down the coast, and this is Hermanus. So you can see that red dot. Hermanus is over there. Now, Vermont is just a little bit to the south of, like a little bit before Hermanus, you hit Vermont. Vermont and there's another place. I can't remember the freaking other place. But it's either there that we're looking to buy places, so here in Hermanus, that area, or all the way up here in a place called Swellendam. This is the other place that I'm looking to buy at. Oh, and we're also looking at Paul. Over here, Paul and Franzhoek. Sounds like Fredericksburg, Texas. So many Germans. All the signs are in German and English. Luckily, all the signs are in Afrikaans and English in Somerset West, but there is a ton of Germans. So it's either Paul, Swellendam, or Hermanus. It's like one of these three areas that we're looking to buy. I'll show you guys what Swellendam looks like. Now, Swellendam isn't on the coast, but it is gorgeous. It is absolutely fucking breathtaking. This entire town is literally built between two mountains. This is the most famous church in South Africa. It's in Swellendam, this church. Trying to see if there's another... Oh, look at this fucking place. So it's got like a shit ton of museums and stuff. This, by the way, was the first ever republic in South Africa. I didn't even know that. But the first republic... the first independent republic of South Africa was the Republic of Swellendam. It's funny that it never became a city. It was like one of the most important towns in historical South Africa and never became a city. Just remained a fucking town. So they have this sort of... Look at this place. I mean, you can't tell me this isn't absolutely gorgeous, right? It would be, so in South Africa, we have Nederduits gereformeerd. I'm trying to think what that would be in English. It's like, what would Nederduits gereformeerd be in English? Maybe like Dutch Reformed, yeah? Voicey? Dutch Reformed, probably, yeah. Dutch Reformed Church is like the one we have here. Probably because it's easier for towns to turn into cities if the towns are coastal, just human traffic. The interesting thing is, this town is sort of like the... Currently, it's got a massive influx of people. So, total population of this town is 17,000 people. Positive for the virus that shall not be named. Oh shit, Alpen, good luck with that. I really hope that you're going to be okay. Rockman, how you doing, bro? Miracles, how you doing? So they've got a massive influx of people currently just streaming to this town. So I think this town is going to explode at some point. I don't know when, but probably going to explode at some point. So we'll see. Wait, you're what? a town here in the Arctic has 10,000. 10,000 and already feels crowded. I don't know, though, because technically, I'm more of a... So, quite honestly, I am more of a... Like, I definitely prefer, shall we say, larger places. I prefer cities to, like, you know, towns and stuff. Not because I like going out, because I don't really like going out, but if I'm gonna choose, I would like to know that it's there. So if I do want to go out, I can go out. You know, so I like the fact that it's there. So I do prefer cities to actual, towns. But to be fair, right now, I don't think being in the cities is a good idea. Tata? Oh, voice, yeah, I get you. I get you. I get exactly what you mean. Don't worry about it, bro. I got you. I got you, fam. Joburg shit is so... Oh, dude. Joburg sucks dick. I lived in Pretoria. And I also... So I come from Polokwane. I lived in Pretoria for a while. And I fucking despised... Like, absolutely despised Joburg. Every single time I had to go to Joburg, I was just like, can I please not? Like, is there any chance that I don't have to go there? Oh, the worst, all the expensive parts of the big city, but none of the cheap perks. Tourist economies are weird. So Swellendam is massive touristy. A huge tourist town. Mainly because it connects the Boerland with the garden route. So the garden route or the garden route, whichever one you want to say, is sort of like a very popular touristy place. And Swellendam is like literally the connecting town between all of those places. So if you want to go to either of those places, chances are you're coming through Swellendam. So there's like a shit ton of tourist attractions and guest houses and stuff like that here. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Right now, I'm really looking to buy a house just so that I can get the fuck away from bad internet and bad electricity. Although I don't know how does one get away from bad electricity? Is that even possible? With German tourists went to a restaurant in Mpumalanga and asked the waitress, "How do you pronounce this place's name?" So she looked at them and said, "Spur." When tourist traps charge you as if you were a tourist, even though you're a resident. So something that's really cool here, Moedelan, in like Cape Town specifically, because obviously you have tourist seasons in South Africa. Not many tourists come to South Africa in the winter. People like to come in the summer. So what ends up happening is in summer, in winter, because there's not a lot of tourists, all of the places that are called quote-unquote tourist attractions are still open because they obviously still want to make some money. But they also know that the locals aren't going to be prepared to pay as much as the tourists. So you end up getting all of the perks of tourist attractions for a fraction of the price. So they'll like charge you dirt cheap for... I believe my brothers went on a hike the other day, like up a hiking trail. And I think it cost them like $2.50 for the hiking trail. Why do you have VTuber in your category? It made it, like, it just put itself there in terms of category. And I've never removed it because why would I? I'm a VTuber. Can you not see it? This is not me. I paid to have a VTuber look like me, but be fat instead. In truth, I have a six-pack. Like, you guys don't know what I look like really. But if you did, you would see. Or you don't have to pay for hiking unless of course you take like proper hiking trails, which would then have like pathways sort of laid out for you as well as staff on the trail in case there's a medical emergency or some shit like that. So those you have to pay for, but there are hiking trails that you can just go if you so choose. No, Michendo, not 3 months ago. So we moved here beginning of December. We arrived in Cape Town the 1st of December. How many months have that been? 6 months. So I've been in the Western Cape for 6 months now. But remember, I'm renting right now. We very recently started looking at buying a property, and the only reason I want to buy is so. Let me start off with this. How many of you foresee some level of chaos the world over in the near future? Magento, me and my brothers. So how many of you think that the world is heading towards some version of chaos? It doesn't have to be world-ending kind of chaos. Like, the scale can be anything, right? So you can say the chaos is going to be so severe that we're almost looking at an Armageddon level event, right? So this would be like if we were to sort of put it into scales. Let's say the worst that happens is the problem. So right now, the world is sort of spared by the Russian-Ukraine conflict because Russia is trying to annex Ukraine. It's not trying to destroy Ukraine. It's not trying to flatten Ukraine. It's trying to spare as many lives as possible because they want to rule Ukraine. So let's imagine the worst outcome is Russia decides, you know what, fuck it. It's taking too long to conquer Ukraine. Let's just flatten it. Okay. We all agree that's a horrible outcome because right then and there, the rest of the world has to step in. So then you have Russia, America go to war. You have Russia, the European Union go to war. Let's put that as the worst case scenario for the world, right? That's like that's the one that no one wants because that's the one that leads to nuclear war, most likely. Millions dead, if not billions dead at the end of this, because you already know what's going to happen, right? As soon as Russia goes full on, fuck Ukraine, fuck the world, it's not long before China goes, well, actually, we think Taiwan is ours as well. So now you have the Taiwan problem. The world is divided, right? Because America have already drawn the line in the sand. They will defend Taiwan. So now you have war on all fronts. This is the worst case scenario, right? This is where billions of people die, probably no food in the stores, nothing. It's chaos. It's anarchy. The governments lose all their power. Governments lose all ability to actually maintain power. That's like the worst possible outcome for everyone. Let's say, short of that, the things in Ukraine remains steady. Putin still doesn't want to flatten Ukraine and wants to annex and eventually rule Ukraine. I don't care what your opinions are on that. I'm not sharing mine. I don't care about yours. What we're looking at here is pure factual basis of happenings, right? So what's going to happen? Putin continues the way that he is. The world doesn't really want to interfere because they fear an escalation of some kind. But this leads to, obviously, as we've already seen, massive issues with supply chains. China, with their zero COVID policy, is leading to supply chains breaking down. We have food shortages already. We have food prices completely fucking soaring right now thanks to inflation and also thanks to a demand-supply issue. So let's imagine we get to... So let's take that scenario and we say it's a scenario where you have money, but you can physically not buy anything with that money because you can't afford it. King Gibby, thanks for the first-time chat, dude. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. So that's sort of scenario number 2. We'll say that's definitely not as bad as scenario number 1, but I think most of us would still agree not the best scenario to be in, right? Because there's still going to be a lot of people without food. There's still going to be a lot of people that... And what do you think happens? So, quick question. What do you think happens when a majority of your people in your country don't have food? What do you think happens there? Maiden, if you want to link something, link it on Discord. Only subs can link straight in on Twitch. So if you want to link something and you're not a sub, just link it on Discord. Well, no, let's not even look at revolution. What do hungry people do? They'll come take from the people that have. So you still end up with lots of people hurt, lots of people dead, and most likely anarchy in the streets, right? I'm appalled at what states are doing as well as the government. Now, let's say, what other scenarios? If we have those two scenarios, so we have a scenario where, obviously, complete hell, nuclear war. That's bad. We have the scenario where there isn't nuclear war, but the war also doesn't come to an end, and therefore supply chains keep breaking down, and we eventually end in a place where the poor is rising up to take what they need because there is no food for them to buy. So that's scenario number 2. What is another likely scenario that you guys think could play itself out in the world? Think of another worldwide. So I'm not looking at individual countries here, because I do think we're looking at civil war in the US, most likely. I don't see how civil war can really be avoided. It seems like both sides, both the Republicans and the Democrats, have decided that the other side is actually evil. I don't care which side you're on. If you're a Democrat, you think the Republicans are evil. If you're a Republican, you think the Democrats are evil. What do people do whenever they think someone else is evil? Well, evil needs to be eradicated, right? So I don't know how you do not end up with a civil war in the US. Drexstar, you'll be surprised how quickly things like that change. If there is a civil war, it won't be between the people. Michendo, I would be surprised if it isn't between the people, but I'd be interested to hear why not. Recession, depression, global scale, lesson global trade, lessons learned from outsourcing manufacturing pharma to China or relying on only Ukraine for food supply. But then I think the most likely scenario is the one you just sketched there. It's what I call the 4th scenario. So the 4th scenario is a recession, depression, with governments losing power. So there will be unrest in almost every country in the world, but not necessarily full-scale civil war. So that's the one that I think is the most likely scenario to play itself out. So the 3rd scenario, in my opinion, is the one where everything remains the same, but you have a civil war that breaks out in the US. This will have rippling implications on the rest of the world, because it won't be long before Europe starts tearing itself apart, and then Africa, of course, have already torn itself apart. So it's just going to continue doing what it's doing. So that's sort of the 3rd scenario. Again, not a great fucking scenario. The one that I think is most likely is recession, depression, which is still going to be a fuck up. I mean, it's still going to be a fuck up. And that's why, so all of this is to explain why I'm leaving the city, or trying to leave the city as quickly as possible. Because I genuinely believe that those living in the cities during hardships like recessions, depressions, those are the people that have the lowest likelihood of survival. I think you have to be rural. Or if not rural, in a town that has more than enough access to fresh water, access to its own food supply, be that farms around the area, and sort of you want to be in areas that have little to no poor people. And I don't mean that as in you know, only rich places. I mean places where the gap between the rich and the poor isn't as bad. So you don't want to be in a place that has a lot of millionaires, but then also a lot of homeless people. Because the homeless people are the ones who's going to rise up and eventually go take what they need. Because they're going to feel the pinch first. And if you don't have food, you're going to go take it. So you want a place where sort of middle income and poor people, fine, I think. Because the middle income is still close enough to the poor to where they may help. They may start looking out for what the poor need. They might come together and say, right, we have farms. Let's see how we can share the food. Let's see how we can work together. The issue is the rich don't really look at the poor. So if you're living in an area that's got like a shit ton of millionaires and also a shit ton of homeless people, that's not a place you want to be in. Because those places are probably going to get fucked. Yeah, self-sufficient rural farm country, I think, is your best bet in this scenario. If these 4 scenarios play out, it could be that tomorrow Putin goes, by the way, it was a practical joke. We're going home now, right? And if that turns out to be true, hey, you know, all things return to normal. China, literally the same day, goes, oh, FYI, we don't actually want Taiwan. Yeah, they can be independent as fuck, right? We're all happy. We'll open up again. You guys can supply and trade and do whatever. We don't care. So it could be that tomorrow we wake up and the world realizes that, hey, we are all in this together and there's no point in everyone looking out for themselves. Do you think that's going to happen? Like, what do you guys think the likelihood is of that happening? Affecting the poor or the rich? Magendo, the gas price inflation will affect the poor. Because remember, gas prices leads to higher food costs, leads to higher utility costs. It literally increases the cost on everything. So, yes, in the short term, rising gas inflation will affect the middle class the most. In the long term, it will destroy the middle and poor class, which is why I said, if you have a community where you have middle class people and poor people, they're going to be equaled out, right? Very quickly, they're going to be equaled out. Basically, everyone's going to be equally poor. So they're going to have to come together to figure out a way to survive. Whereas the millionaires aren't going to overnight turn into poor people, right? They're going to remain millionaires, but the poor is going to be fucking hungry. And so it is going to become a massive issue. And more importantly, most millionaires do not live where food is produced. Millionaires live in beautiful cities and places where the food is brought to them. If you have a complete, like, fucking anarchistic system where the food isn't coming to you, what happens to those cities where shelves are now empty? I mean, the farming areas are fine. You can still have a farmer's market, and the farmers can still bring their food to the farmer's market for everyone to consume. But in the city, how are you getting your food? Gas prices are astronomically high. No one wants to drive that far to bring you food. Most companies are going bankrupt because they can't afford it. So I just think cities is a massive no-no right now. Or just people who live... Magendo, I mean sort of both, even though I know there is a difference. I don't think it's necessary to get into the nuance of things. Because if you're talking homeless, they're really not affected by anything. They don't have cars. They don't have money to really buy food. So, you know, they're homeless, which is like the lowest you can be in terms of survival. But I'm just clumping poor people as people who live on the poverty line or below the poverty line, sort of together. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the US is like. If you were to compare your people who live on the poverty line or below the poverty line to the homeless people, there's definitely fewer homeless people than what there are people who live on or below the poverty line, right? Pigarku, how you doing? Definitely, there's not more homeless people than poor people. Trickstar, I mean, China doesn't give a fuck about social contracts. So China is going to do what China does. Because all homeless live below the poverty line. I know, Apocalypse, but when we say homeless, we're talking about no job, no home, no nothing. And then sort of differentiating between, let's say that is one line. So if you have no job, no home, no nothing, you're homeless. But then you're above that line, but also below the poverty line. And if you compare those two groups, I would say there's more people above the line of homeless, but below the line of basic, like, poverty line, on or below the line, the poverty line, than there are people below the line of no job, no home. So the homeless, whilst an important group, because no one wants to see anyone die of hunger, believe me, it is statistically an insignificant group. Like, statistically, that group barely matters. The group we want to worry about is the group that... Dude, we've made a lot of mistakes. The world over, we've made a lot of mistakes. I don't see how society doesn't come crashing down, if I'm very honest with all of you. We fucked things up. Me and my brother have been talking about this for a while. Or just a minimum wage farm worker. I mean, the biggest problem I think we have as a human race is our inability, even though history teaches us this, we seem to be incapable of thinking about unforeseen consequences. Poor become homeless because they don't have a living wage. Shader, that's a gross oversimplification of the actual reason why people become homeless. The living wage is one factor, but it's not the only factor. Not even close. Because you have homeless people in countries where a living wage is, like, guaranteed. You have countries where there's a massive minimum wage and they still have homeless people. So if, for example, a living wage is... If no living wage is the reason for homeless people, then it means that when a living wage is guaranteed, there wouldn't be homeless people. The truth is, minimum wage is a two-sided blade. Because while, yes, true, those who do get jobs will be paid better, with a minimum wage, less people get jobs. Because not all companies can afford to pay the minimum wage. And if you're a company that needs 10 workers, but you can only afford to pay 5, well, you only have 5 workers. This means that there are 5 people who don't have jobs. Because they can't physically pay the minimum wage. South Africa has a guaranteed minimum wage and it is 46% unemployment. Why? Because most companies cannot afford to pay the guaranteed minimum wage. So they either close their doors or they figure out how to function with fewer workers. Minimum wage is not a silver bullet to all of the problems of the world. In fact, if you speak to most economists, they will argue that minimum wage does actually more harm than good. At least in sort of mixed economies. So if you have a society that's relatively small, but equally geared and skilled. So, for example, a lot of European countries where the rate at which people go to university is incredibly high. They also have a very small population. Minimum wage tends to work really well in those societies because there's far fewer people that is ever going to work for minimum wage. So there's sort of competition in that market. Whereas if you have a society that has a lot of unschooled people, a lot of people that don't want to go to university, that will automatically work for minimum wage can be an incredible issue. So it's more difficult than that. It's not just a living wage thing. Yeah, I hate the word homogenous populations because a lot of people hear homogenous and they think race, which is such a backwater way of thinking about things. Because, in my opinion, homogenous is culture-based. It's the way we think about things that's important. It's not a racial thing. It's how do we think about things. So do me and you look at the same thing and see the same thing? Or do we look at the same thing and see two different things? Because if we're looking at the same thing, but we see two different things, that is a society that is going to have a lot of trouble in trying to figure out how to operate. Whereas if both of us look at something and we say, yeah, that's something, right? That helps. And that's all you need. So I hate the word homogenous, but not because it's a bad word. It's because most people hear homogenous and they think, oh, he's talking about all white or all black societies, which I think it's such an old way of looking at the world, especially if you hold those views. Like if you're someone who actually thinks, yeah, you know what? The world needs all white cities and all black cities. Like, welcome to the 21st century, where you should not be thinking that way anymore. But hey, you know, if that's your dream, I guess go with it. Please, in Sweden, we have some of the strongest social safety nets, and we still have people who can't function within that framework, and that's become homeless. It's up to individuals. See, the issue that I have is, Shadow Skylick, how you doing? We seem as a society incapable of thinking about the unforeseen consequences of our actions. So South Africa is a great example of this. You have... I'll give you guys an example of a place that I know very well. It's a farming sort of town, a massive farming town, about 100 kilometers from where I was born, right? My home city. The farmers in that area farm on 200,000 hectares, 300,000 hectares. They don't play. Let's just put it that way. Almost every single one of those farmers are millionaires, some of them close to billionaires. These are big boy farmers. King Julian, thanks for the 2 months up. Really appreciate that. 11 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Literally surrounding, or basically in between all of these farms, are informal settlements, 3 of them. Now, informal settlements is a beautiful word that basically means homeless people. It's people that live in shanty towns, shacks and stuff. All right? Now, do these farmers deserve the amount of money that they make? Chat. Do you think these farmers deserve the amount of money that they make? Are you going to play more A5 today or no? King Julian, no. Not today. There's not enough time. My power's going out in about 2.5 hours. Wait, it's 20 to 4? Yeah, about 2.5 hours. Genuine, you guys can answer whichever way you want. There's no judgment here. But do you think the farmer deserves to make money? Hootson, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. Well, all of these farmers, let's assume that these are hard-working farmers. These are farmers that wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep 11, 12 o'clock in the evening. They're working their asses off to make that money. And a lot of these farmers built their farms from nothing, right? They've built their farms from small farms into giant conglomerate potato farmers and exporters and shit. So we all agree that they deserve that money. It's theirs. We can even go so far as to say they deserve the money even though right next to them are people that live below the poverty line. These farmers decided to make something of themselves. The people living in the shanty towns did not. Sure, let's make that argument. Let's say that these farmers deserve to live in absolute luxury, and believe me, some of their houses look like fucking castles. These guys are rich. We're talking about people that drive like 5 or 6 different Land Cruisers, right? So these guys are not poor. And we could say they work for it. It's their money. They deserve it. But let me ask you this. Can you foresee a world in which, let's imagine, as often is the case, something were to happen? Let's just imagine for a second the country goes sideways and chaos ensues. Maybe there isn't enough food. Maybe inflation goes up. You know, it's a chaotic system. Can you imagine how the poor people living in the shanty towns could become your problem as one of these rich farmers? Because remember, you deserve the money that you're making. Absolutely. I'm not even disputing that. You work very hard. You earn your keep. It's your money to keep. No problem. But can you imagine a world in which something were to happen and suddenly all of those poor people, now starving, maybe is going to become your problem? So what if they start raiding your lands and stealing all of your potatoes? What if they raid your house to fucking raid your fridge because they're hungry, right? So you guys agree, right? We can all logically see that having an informal settlement so close to your palace could be a problem. Especially if we look historically. Historically, what has happened with every single monarchy in the world? In history, throughout history, what has happened to almost every single monarchy and sort of nobleman settlement the world over? With the moderation settings they put on me in chat, I was just messing around in chat, having a bit of fun. King Julian, yeah, I think it's fine. Apocalypse, if you think King Julian have been behaving himself, can you remove the moderation settings on him? When the zombies come, it won't matter anyway. People rise up and they kill the nobleman. So we can all say that it is extremely stupid to hoard your wealth and not imagine that the peasants will eventually rise up and want to take your shit. Correct? Then why aren't we doing it? And I'm not for a second here suggesting that those farmers should give their money away, because that's also not helpful. We've already seen what happens when you just give people money. Just giving people a blank check does not make them more productive. In fact, it almost always is proven that just giving people money is not the way to fix it. The way you want to fix it is by helping those people, by figuring out how to get them in a position where they can help themselves. So here's what I sort of thought about, and this is a quick suggestion. If you are a farmer, why not go to these communities and say, all right, you know, I have a massive farm. I don't need all of it. I'll give you 20% of my farm in exchange for a 30% profit share. So 30% of all the profits you make on this land is mine. Another farmer maybe goes, well, I don't actually have land that I can give away, but I can absolutely build a school that could educate the young people, which will in turn give me better educated workers, but also lift this community by giving them some sort of educational system, right? Look, in my country, the government is not the answer. Believe me. Every single kid that goes to a government school doesn't even get the required education to go to university. So, especially rural government-run schools are not the fucking answer. Not in my country. My government, yeah, it's a waste. So we're not thinking about the government right now. And we're not thinking about the whole let's pay taxes and hope the government takes care of something. My country have already seen that their taxes mean nothing. Their taxes doesn't help. But as a private individual citizen, it's also not okay for me to look at the poor and be like, not my problem. Because it's going to be your problem. Maybe it's not your problem right now. Maybe right now the poor isn't stealing your shit. But if chaos were to strike, it's going to become your problem. So hoarding all of your wealth, building castles, and having billions upon billions in the bank isn't going to save you when chaos finally strikes. You have to figure out a better way for humanity to move forward. A way in which those who have money try and figure out a way to share that money with others without just giving it away. Because at the end of the day, you're not doing it for altruism or socialism or some bullshit ideal. You're doing it for yourself, right? You're doing it for your fucking self. I'm not suggesting here that you should do it out of the kindness of your heart. You should literally try and enable the poor so that they don't eventually come and steal from you. It's as simple as that. If we could teach people that principle, the principle of thinking ahead and realizing that the decisions they make today may have a lot of unforeseen consequences in the future, I think we can truly build a society that transcends history. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that every single society we build turns to ash? Why is that? In the US, they don't teach you anything really anymore. They teach you how to pass a test. That's it. And it's obvious, by the way, people don't know who the first president was. Oof. Denizens get mad at billionaires for not giving away their money. Giving away your money isn't going to teach you, isn't going to help shit. They teach you to fit in a box that never changes, not to actually think for yourself. The issue is the teachers don't even think for themselves. So how would they teach anyone to think for themselves? That includes larger and larger social circles around them. Militant. The problem is, there's no such thing as true altruism. Almost everything you do for someone else. Or for someone else to see, for yourself, really, right? You do it so other people can see how you do it. You're always thinking about yourself in one way or another. I just wish people would be more rational about their self-interest. Think about what you're doing, and then also how what others are doing can fuck you. And I think if you can get there, you may actually be fine as a society. Channel of power to government, and they don't like that. Dude, my government is in the shitter. Like, I don't know how my government survives the next 5 years. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I think South Africa is already fucked in the best way possible. Or worst way possible, depending on how you look at it. In the last elections, only 18% of the voting population actually went to vote. So my government is the first government in the history of the world, probably, like democratic countries, where the ruling government was elected by the minority of the people. PM today. Do you like the PM, King Julian? So I don't know. How does a government like that retain power when they've already lost more than 80% of the voting public? Like the 80% of the voting public decided, no, we don't want to vote because we don't trust you. Been here for 2 years and we didn't need it. They came back and we went downhill from there. Cruel Rabbit, are you Belgium? Are you from Belgium? Been a bunch in America too. Does it really, like, how many people in America actually vote? I would say very few countries have only like less than 20% of its people voting. And I don't mean 20% of its population. I mean 20% of its voting public. So the people that are actually registered to vote, only 20% of them actually went to fucking vote. So, you know, that should tell you these are people that have at least voted in the last 25 years once. And of them, only 20% said, yeah, all right, I'll go vote. The rest just went, what's the fucking point? You think so, Apocalypse? I don't know about that. The bright side is that the apathy that caused the low vote might help that government of yours maintain power. Apathy does wonders. Not necessarily. When you think, the apathy fuels a lot of rage in South Africa. Andy, how you doing, bro? In the US, you'll only be incentivized to vote if you know the race in your state is close. How many states, though, have a close race in the US? Last time I checked, there's only a few purple states in the US. The rest are either fully blue or fully red. No, honestly, I think we need a break from politicians. Do you get fined in South Africa, Akko, if you don't vote, or is that only here in Australia? I've never voted in my entire life. Like, literally, we had our census 2 days ago. We were counted in the census, so we had people coming around to do the whole census thing. While this wasn't a question on the census papers, me and the guy started talking. And he sort of, because he asked me, what do I do for a living? I'm like, YouTuber. And he was like, dude, that's the first time this entire thing that I've written this down as a profession. So good job. And then he asked me, what kind of YouTube videos do I make and shit like that. So we got to talking and he's like, so who do you vote for? I'm like, no one. He's like, no, I mean, like, you know, if you were to vote, who would you vote for? I'm like, no one. And he's like, well, why wouldn't you vote DA? I'm like, because I don't agree with the DA. He's like, on anything? I'm like, no, I agree on some things, but I disagree on a lot of things, so I can't vote for them. He's like, okay, what about the ANC? I'm like, no, I agree on most things with them. He's like, okay, what about the Vrijheid Front? I'm like, no, I disagree with most of their things too. He's like, so there's no party? I'm like, no, there's no party, so I don't vote. I've never voted. I'm not even registered to vote. And there's no fine for that. Like, just don't vote. Who the fuck am I supposed to vote for? I don't agree with any of them. Like, the things that they want to do is not the things that I want to do. Maybe what the world needs is... Maybe we need a little bit of chaos? What do you guys think? Do shroom to remove people? Would there be plus for the lols? Oh, shit. Might be a dumb question, but what keeps people away from making their own party? Lord Knox, I think you need, like, money. I don't know how much money you need, though. I think you need, like, 20,000 or 200,000 rand. Then you can just form your own fucking political party. But I don't know if I would ever do that. Seems like a hell of a lot of work just to fix a broken fucking system. I'd rather just sit here and complain about the system. You guys have to understand. I don't want to fix anything. I just want the freedom to be able to complain about the things that is broken. I'm no activist, right? I have no interest in fixing the world. The world is fucked as it is. I just want to be able to complain about the fact that it's fucked. If there are others that wish to fix the country and the world on my behalf, I would not stand in your way. I might even give you a bit of a fucking golf clap as you're doing it. But I would only like to reserve the right to complain about the things not working. To be ruled a suicide? Closest thing to anarcho-capitalism? Well, we've effectively become anarcho-capitalism because of an inept government. So that is true. I do have some good news. There is a modicum of good news in all this bullshit. Do you guys want some good news, or do you want to sit here and complain instead about the world's problems? Adrian, yeah. I prefer to just philosophize about the destruction of the world. I don't want to think about, like, how to fix it. That doesn't make me happy. Don't exist. It's just copium. I mean, look, the hopium that I'm gonna give you is good hopium. It's actually good. As good as good news can be, at least. Like, fuck it, I'll share it with you guys, just because I love you. You know, everyone needs to smile at least a little bit. How many of you saw this? Trickstar registered to vote, like I just said. In the last election, only 20% of the actual registered people voted. So it's like bad. No, this X-Pack is not going to mean anything. Wild Boy, the problem is the narrative director hasn't even started working there yet. Alright, so I've said this before. I said this so many times, and this actually proves it. I don't know if you guys remember, like, I think 6 months ago or so, I asked, like, I sort of ventured into the realm that World of Warcraft doesn't have a narrative director. I was convinced of it. I'm pretty fucking sure. Sure Coffee, how you doing, bro? Yo, Asmon has changed. What do you mean Asmon Gold has changed? How so? Thanks for the first time chat, by the way. Really appreciate that. My reasons for thinking that World of Warcraft needs a narrative director and why I thought they don't have one is the story of Shadowlands. I'll be the first to admit, there were ideas. Sure Coffee, thanks for the follow, dude. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be the first to admit that Shadowlands had some good ideas. It had some reasonably good ideas at the start, things that could really have turned into something great. I remember me and my mods sitting on Discord and actually discussing the possibilities for the future of Shadowlands and being very excited for where this story could actually go. The problem was, once we started to see the story unfold of all these potential stories, it's where it became clear that there's no direction. Like, no one actually sat and said, right, in order for us to get from point A to point B to C to D, we have to do X, Y, and Z, right? So this is needed to get us from point A to point B. Then we're going to need this to get us to the next point. There was no one like that. This, by the way, is what a narrative director does. So you have all of the writers writing their stories and coming up with their amazing sort of overarching narratives. It is the job of the narrative director to then take those stories to the creative director. The creative director will then take those stories to where it gets made. So if you have a story for a dungeon, the dungeon team has to be included so that they can actually build the dungeon according to the story. The narrative director is the one that keeps track of all of these narratives. Also the one that connects the writers to the historians to sort of go, wait, can this story actually work in this regard, or is this story going to sort of break the history of the game? That's what a narrative director does. They direct the story. World of Warcraft hasn't had a narrative director for a really long time, in my opinion, because I think Blizzard sort of thought to themselves that Steve Denuser and his writing team could do that. Like, they thought to themselves, well, why do you need a narrative director? As long as you have story writers, they can just write the story and that's it, right? Like, why would you need a director? It's like, well, if everyone's just writing stories, who the fuck is making sure that these stories actually play out the way that the writers want them to play out? Who's actually saying, wait a second, you guys are doing far too much. We can't do all of that in this expansion. Scale it back a little, you know? Let's go back a little bit. Because, yeah, actually, Itam, you're using the perfect analogy there. World of Warcraft right now is a ship with no captain. If the World of Warcraft story was its own ship, it would be a ship where every sailor is technically sailing, but they don't have a captain that's sort of going, we're sailing that way. So every single sailor is effectively doing their job. You know, they're hoisting the sails and they're sort of lowering and sort of pulling up the anchor, and they're cleaning the deck, and maybe they're firing a couple of rounds into the sea. But none of the sailors are actually going in the same direction. They're all working, but no one's going the same direction. So Blizzard just announced that there's a new job listing for a narrative director. The narrative director is charged with guiding World of Warcraft's ongoing story, overseeing the narrative design discipline, reporting to the creative director of WoW. The narrative director will collaborate closely with other design groups, art, sound, and cinematics to craft a compelling narrative experience. That's good. See, this is what we've needed for so very long, is someone that actually goes, right, what is the story that you guys want to tell? Michendo, there's a job listing right now for an actual narrative director. So they haven't hired anyone yet, but they are now looking into it. In my humble opinion, the narrative director should work with the Quest raid designers too. He is. So they literally just say here, groups like the art, sound, cinematics team, this will include the questing team. So the point now is to go, right, Denuser, you and your writers, what is the story for this expansion? And they go, this is the story for this expansion. And the narrator goes, okay, great. So you guys want dragons. You want a big bad dragon at the end. Okay, who's the big bad dragon at the end? Steve Denuser comes up and he's like, well, we thought Rathian is getting corrupted again, and Rathian is going to be the big bad dragon at the end. He's like, okay, cool. All right, so we know where we want to end with this expansion now. Let's see how we get there. How do we deal with patch 9.1? or patch 10.1. Right. So in patch 10.1, these are the bad guys that we sort of want. Okay, how do these bad guys get us to Rathian Big Bad Guy at the end? This is what a narrative director does. They are the one who basically say, okay, this is cool. You have a cool story here, but how does this get us to the end? We need this, 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 and this. All right, so we need the dungeon designers to do this. We need the quest designers to do that. We need the sound guys to do this so that we can get to the end. The problem with World of Warcraft right now is everyone's just writing cool shit. Whether it makes sense at the end, who cares? It's cool shit, right? At least it's cool. Burning a tree, very cool. I mean, graphically, it's amazing. What do you do right after you've burnt the tree? Well, we're still kind of waiting to find out, because they haven't really figured out what the fuck is going to happen there. She's currently doing dailies in the Maw, probably for a long time. Now, some might think that is a just punishment. Personally, I think it's cruel and unusual punishment. But, you know, to each their own. I think death would have been a more merciful end than dailies in the Maw, but that's just me. He directs what is written when he is the one to put together, so it makes sense considering there are 4 different main writers for the story currently. Apocalypse, exactly. The narrative director doesn't write. They're not part of the writing team. Their job is to make sure that all the writers are actually fucking writing the right things, right? So that you don't have one writer going off and burning down a fucking tree while the other writers are trying to write something completely different. That's where the narrative director comes in. I could apply for it. I think you would be a good narrative director. I will not be applying for any job at Blizzard ever. I like being a YouTuber. And like I said before, I don't actually want to fix anything. I just want to reserve the right to complain about things. You guys need to understand something. If I were to go fix the World of Warcraft, that would be a lot of work. It is much easier. And also, I think more lucrative to complain when things aren't doing well. Like, when things aren't being done well, I can complain with the best of them. But I don't want to fucking fix it. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. I would say it's a pretty big inconvenience, but anyways. Directed and creative field equals herding cats. But okay, so what will... let's quickly see here. This role requires inspirational leadership as both a storyteller and a world builder. Success in this role entails marrying a deep understanding of epic fantasy storytelling with a keen sense of the strengths and weaknesses of the MMORPG medium. Over, thanks for continuing the gifted sub. Did really appreciate it. Welcome to the most degenerate chat on Twitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To deliver an immersive and impactful story experience to WoW's players around the world. What will they do? Collaborate with a creative director, game director, art director, WoW design, leadership, and Blizzard story and franchise development to guide the narrative evolution of WoW's world, cultures, and characters. Mentor, and there is at one point here, they sort of mention books as being a part of something that they have to kind of do, which kind of pissed me the fuck off. I really wish that they wouldn't be involved in books. I wish Blizzard would lose this obsession that they have with books in their fucking game. Did you get cubicle crawled? Dude, I am the cubicle. What are you talking about? Like Apocalypse said there. So does this mean Dragonflight is saved? No. Fuck no. Guys, the narrative director hasn't even started work yet. Lowlife, how you doing? No. If the narrative director is going to have any sort of impact on this story, it might only be felt towards, like, the middle part of Dragonflight's story. Depending on, of course, when the job gets filled. You can tell them to not put the important shit in the box. Yeah. I mean, if we could go to a place where the books in World of Warcraft sort of deals with different stories, and it's just really cool. So if we can turn World of Warcraft into a true transmedia experience where, you know, the books is a story set in the same universe, but a different story of that universe, I wouldn't mind. because I do love reading books, and I don't mind books. The problem is just when I have to read a fucking book in order to understand the story that I literally just played. Like, 5 minutes ago, I finished the story. Now I have to read a book so that I can understand what the fuck I just played. That's not too fun, right? That's not too fun. So if World of Warcraft can do books in sort of a true... Because the problem with World of Warcraft's book system right now is it's almost more multimedia than what it is transmedia. Because in terms of multimedia, you're basically releasing the same story on multiple media sources, right? That's what multimedia is. Transmedia is supposed to be the same universe on multiple media sources. So this would be similar to the Marvel universe, where you have the Marvel comic books and then you have the Marvel movies. While all of it is canon, it doesn't always have to deal with the exact same things. The comic books can deal with completely different things than what the movies necessarily have to deal with. So that would be a good example of transmedia done right. Not all of the movies, because we can see that backfiring on the side of Batman, Superman, DC Comics. Sort of a good example of when transmedia isn't done really well. But not because they're failing at the fundamental concepts of transmedia. Their movies just tend to fucking blow ass for some reason. So yeah, I'm really hopeful. I don't know. Chat, what are your thoughts on World of Warcraft actually putting out a job listing for a narrative director? Do you guys... Am I just being so full of hopium right now that I can't see that this doesn't matter? Or do you think there is slight reason to sort of be like, oh my god, this could actually be the thing we've been asking for? And not replace story. I can agree with that. Cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hopium, careful, you might OD. The narrative director constantly gets overruled by the user. Will it even matter? So, Shadow Skalik, just to be clear here, the narrative director will be above Steve the User. So, Steve the User will effectively work for this narrative director. So, for Dragonflight, I think people should temper their expectations. Whilst the narrative director won't necessarily be as sort of it won't lag behind as much as, say, for example, an actual writer. The story for Dragonflight is already written. But once the narrative director starts working, nothing stops that director from actually directing the story that is already being fucking written, right? Or has already been written. They can still direct it. So there is a chance that the effects of the narrative director can be felt a hell of a lot sooner than the effects of, say, for example, a writer or even a new game director. So let's say Ian stepped down and a new person took the job. That new person's sort of influence on the game is only going to be felt in 11.0. It won't be felt in 10.0 because Ian already made 10.0. It's a good thing. I just hope they hire the right person for the job and that they guide the narrative in the right direction. Details, I agree with you 100% on that. Too much of 10.0 is probably already done for this director to have an effect. Yeah, but 10.0 is really just the start. World of Warcraft has never had a problem with the start of their stories. Every single one of World of Warcraft's expansions start really well. It's usually the yada yada bits towards the end that becomes a fucking problem. So they have great ideas at the start, and then they yada yada them towards the end. That's the issue with World of Warcraft. It's almost never the opposite way, where the start is sort of yada yada, and then it really picks up speed towards the end. Apocalypse, I would say even BFA had some decent ideas in the beginning. Then they yada yada them sort of from very early on, and then sort of finished kind of high, right? Like kind of on a high point. They built towards a good end towards the end of the story. But the beginning of BFA, I was still very excited for the story for BFA. until Rip BFA. I enjoyed all of Mop and Legion. Mop, yes. Legion also had a bit of yada yada bits towards the end. Like, the reason I use the word yada yada is because every single expansion, really since WoD, have felt rushed towards the end. It's felt sort of as if they've run out of time to actually finish the story. So they just sort of rush it. They just sort of go, yeah, and then also, you know, you get the idea. Fuck it. We'll just move on. And it's kind of like the rest of us going, what did he say? Did you get what the fuck he just said? Because I'm a bit lost now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this narrative director can do. Of course, all of this boils down to who will be the narrative director and will they actually know what the fuck they're doing. Are they going to hire someone that's actually good and knows what the fuck they're doing? Or are they going to hire someone just so that it looks good? Because that's obviously something Blizzard is doing now. Just think of their diversity tool that they came out with. They are very focused on what it looks like to the outside world whenever they do something. Rather than just doing something that makes fucking sense and not have anyone be angry at them. That's sort of the big question, I think. Of course not. They're going to hire a yes... a what? Suckles the Loser's teeth? Oh, can you imagine that? Oh, no. Natalie Frost, it's still Blizzard. I just think it was sort of... They were putting it out there as a really proud thing that they're doing, only to realize, well, that's actually not proud whatsoever. You know, that's actually not a thing to be proud of. You are joking now, but then the Rathian Anduin thing happens. That is my worry. Or they just hire another poser. You know who they should hire for this position? Ishikawa. She can do both. I'm pretty sure she can write the story. Plus, she's actually stepping down for the next expansion of Final Fantasy. So she will have all the time in the world to, you know, come fix whatever the fuck is going on in World of Warcraft. They should get Ishikawa to be the narrative director for World of Warcraft. She just copied Naruto plot. Fuck off. She's good. I mean, her story is amazing. No, I think Ishikawa should do it. She'll know what the fuck she's doing. Either that or, dude, they could basically get almost any of the narrative directors that work for CD Projekt Red. They could probably get any of the narrative directors that used to work at BioWare for this. Can you imagine, for example, the narrative director of Mass Effect, the narrative director, Dragon Age, working on something like World of Warcraft could be really fucking cool. Is it possible that WoW story devs have lost the vision of trying to tell a story that extends past an expansion to at least make it seem like the end of an expect story conclusion is as riveting as the beginning? Koda Shiku, how you doing, bro? I would say yes, possible, but also the fact that Blizzard is putting in for a narrative director now suggests to me that they haven't had a narrative director in a very long time, which could literally be the issue. Because it would be a narrative director that makes those calls. That sort of goes, wait a second, guys. I get the ending that you guys want to shoot for, but how the fuck does that end fit into the next expansion? You guys have a new story that you're planning for this next expansion, but your ending doesn't make sense for what the fuck you have planned for the next expansion. So fix your ending, because this is not going to work. Right? In the next expansion, you want to do this, but now you're doing this at the end here. It doesn't work. So fix it. So it could just be that World of Warcraft, and I wouldn't be surprised. Ian Hazzikostas does not strike me as someone that takes story very seriously. So it could be that World of Warcraft sort of thought to themselves, why do you even need a narrative director? Just let the story guys write a fucking story and be done with it, you know? Who even cares? It's like, well, actually, you know, kind of important. You know, who knows? It's kind of important, you know, but fuck it. I guess do what you do, you know? See how this works out for you. And I always, like, while we're talking about this, I get that meme in my head in Dodgeball where he goes, well, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for them. Which is basically that, right? When Ian announced that, hey, guys, we're not going to get a new narrative director, I think the writers are fine with it. Maybe one of the people in that office was like, ooh, that's a bold strategy, Ian. Let's see how this plays out for us. And yeah, does it work, as it turns out. Hopefully they can manage more than 2 to 3 patches so they have a narrative to direct. I mean, it would be good, right? Boss is named Great Guy Big Axe. Not just that, you don't have any continuity, because it is ultimately the job of the narrative director to ensure continuity within a story, because their job is to look at big picture. Remember, it's very difficult as a writer to think in terms of big picture. You don't always think about what the big picture of this could be. Because your only focus really is on writing whatever is in front of you. So what happens is, if you don't have someone to sort of go, wait a second, I love what you're writing here, but where the fuck does any of this fit? Like, your story doesn't work here. Like, yeah, you wrote a beautiful story about the trolls destroying the Tauren, but the story sort of shows how the Tauren will become the new rulers of the Horde. So this story, how's this working? Like, where do we fit this fucking story? Sure, the trolls on the Tauren go to war and the Taurens burn down the trolls burn down the troll house. But the Tauren also become the rulers of the Horde. So you just wrote a story that does not fit with our narrative. In the past, Blizzard would just be like, oh my god, can you imagine the cinematic? Let's do it. And then we'll retcon the fuck out of it later. Right? When we no longer want to do that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think this could be a great move for Blizzard. If, of course, they get the right narrative director. Have an imagination, but are not always based with words. Oxymoronical, I know, but it is true. That is why there are proofreaders and editors. No book ever published was not edited for a better book. Apocalypse, that's actually the perfect example. Books need editors. Editors very often will look at the flow of a book as much as the word use of a book. So they'll look at the flow and they'll be like, wait, your book doesn't flow. There's passages here that sort of break up the flow of the book. These passages could work later, but they're not going to work here. I need a rewrite on like page 4 and 5. Also a rewrite on page 101 because it doesn't flow. It doesn't make sense. You're skipping things, you're jumping past things, or you're moving past certain things that should be there. That's why you have an editor. Basically, the editor for WoW will be whoever the fuck becomes the narrative director here. And I think that's good. Through anything lately, from news to magazines to books, I don't think anything is edited anymore. Or maybe true. But that, I think, is because most people think that you don't need it. And if there's ever been a channel that knows exactly how untrue that is, it's this one. Because I tried to verbatim read the fucking article the other day where that one girl from the valley kept saying like as if it was a word that had multiple different kinds of meanings. The one is the perfect example of current writing. What is that? 2231.
Saurfang rallies the rest of the horde behind him because they also feel bad about committing genocide. Saurfang and his no-genocide horde team up with the Alliance and go to Orgrimmar to stop Sylvanas and her pro-genocide horde. Saurfang decides at the last minute to challenge Sylvanas to an honorable orc duel instead, and Sylvanas agrees. Saurfang is about to win, so Sylvanas just insta-kills him and tells the horde she never liked him anyway and flies off. Everyone feels bad, but the pro-genocide horde's mom just left, so they forgive them for all the genocide immediately and before 4 ends. Things are starting to wind down when the champions of Azeroth accidentally set N'Zoth free because a knife tells them to. Then they kill him with a magic necklace and nothing of consequence changes. Sylvanas flies to Icecrown Citadel, beats up Witch King Bolvar and steals his hat. Then she breaks it, which makes the sky explode and also probably kills Ner'zhul. Now the afterlife is connected to regular life, which is bad, so everyone is about to kill themselves in order to beat up the Grim Reaper. And that's the history of WoW.
Yep, pretty much, right? That's the issue with no narrative director. Because the narrative director would have been the person that steps in here and goes, okay, wait a second. So you just destroyed the Helm to open the gateway, and you killed N'Zoth just a little earlier? What are the consequences of killing N'Zoth? Well, you know, obviously there's going to be consequences. Yeah, but we have to show the consequences, otherwise there's no point in killing him. So, rewrite and actually give me consequences for killing N'Zoth. And also, the Helm, what about Ner'zhul? Are we going to explain that? Is that going to be shown? Maybe write me something about that. I need a rewrite so that this makes sense. This is where the narrative director becomes so fucking important, because all of these stories on their own, really cool. The problem is usually the bits that connect them. If you don't have bits that connect them, none of this makes any fucking sense. And then those cool moments turn into, well, who gives a shit, right? Yeah, very good idea here by Hidden Azeroth. I like this. Killing an old god would be devastating to Azeroth. The Dancing Asian? No. So a lot of people misinterpret this. A lot of people look at killing an old god as being bad for Azeroth because when Aman'Thul ripped Y'Saraj out of the planet, it nearly killed Azeroth. What most people don't understand is it's not the death of Y'Saraj that nearly killed Azeroth. It's the fact that it was just ripped out of the fucking planet, right? So, for example, if I were to, in surgery, remove one of your kidneys, not necessarily bad for you. Like, not great for you, but not bad for you. If I were to simply rip out one of your kidneys, probably bad for you, right? So the problem here isn't the removal of the kidney, it's the process through which the kidney was removed that becomes the real issue. So no, the death of an old god means nothing to the planet, at least not in terms of destruction. It's how that old god dies that becomes a real fucking issue. Watching the video, by the way, it's a funny spin on how to explain the whole lore. Andy, we will watch it. Maybe let's add this to my watch later. Because, yeah, I would like to give this a watch, actually. The director has to be familiar with the lore, not for historical specifics, but to know what potential events, if any, are consequential. But Millen, this is usually where you have access to WoW historians and WoW lore nerds and things like that within Blizzard that you can go to as the narrative director and be like, okay, listen here, this is the story that they have now. Could you tell me, does this story break anything? Is there anything that we need to know about this story that would be relevant to its telling? If you don't have that, you're going to end up with issues. The grey I have, and I've also pissed off so many fucking people when it comes to that goddamn video. So let me see if I can show you. Let's go to my reaction channel.
So you're new to WoW and want to know what's going on, or you're just trying to figure out which horde...
Dude, I'm so ridiculously close to being fucking monetized on this show. It annoys me. It's 55 subs. We need 55 fucking subs on this reaction channel to get to 1,000. It sucks dick. Hold up. I need to look for this fucking video. But people were angry with me because apparently I ruined the video for myself. I ruined it. Because I wouldn't just sit there and fucking take it. This is the one. So people were very angry. I wonder how many of those comments are left. Oh, here we go. Here's one of them. You gotta just finish watching the video. I hate it when people just fucking pause and do some detective work. Just watch the video. Holy shit. Saying, dude, what are you talking about? Like, this is fine. This is fine. I still enjoyed the video. It's a shame you had to ruin it by looking it up instead of watching the video through till the end, thus ruining your reaction video. What do you mean, ruining the reaction video? I like the fucking video. I even gave it a like at the end. I thought it was brilliantly produced, brilliantly delivered, and one of the most creative ways I've ever seen at someone criticizing a fucking the story of WoW. I liked it. It didn't destroy it for me. It destroyed it for everyone else, apparently, even though most of these fuck have already seen the video. But they think me Googling the things that he says, that's the issue, right? Andy, I appreciate that. I made it a point to not look for the fun of it, but I was watching Asmon. No, I read. As soon as he said things, I was like, wait, is that actually true? Does that actually fucking happen? Wow. I think there's a lot of people that just... in my opinion, the people that just watched the video and did not do research are just sheep. You just believe everything you fucking read, don't you? Like, you see the headline and you go, true. The AmberTurd discussion, or me, no. I just want to be clear, though. I did not want to watch AmberTurd. There's no way, and want to see how it spins. I don't get the anger. It doesn't affect them. No, it doesn't. People don't like it when the person beside them in the roller coaster analyzes the ride. Well, then get the fuck out of the ride. Like, I don't give a shit. I genuinely don't give a shit. I enjoyed the video. It was a fucking good video. Like, I don't get why people were so butthurt over it. All right, I want to be clear, though, that this next part is not for me. This next part, you can blame my editor for. You can blame Alex. Alex effectively made it very clear to me that this is hype as fuck right now, apparently. So, apparently this is what everyone wants now. Like, just mindless celebrities speaking about shit that I couldn't care less about. This is entertainment. So I'm forced to watch it now because apparently this is what the YouTube algorithm wants. The man follows the algorithm. He doesn't make it. Still, we could change it, right? We could be those content creators that change the algorithm. Some see the thumbnails and all already mad before even clicking. So true. Sophia, thanks for the tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. 45 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But no, okay. The actual truth is I've been kind of following it, but not as religiously as a lot of other people. I have been following it enough to where I really like how AmberTurd is getting her ass handed to her in this trial. And I think one of the reasons I really like this is this drives an absolute, like, not even sword, like giant great sword blade into the argument of just hashtag believe all women. Because that's exactly what happened. AmberTurd came out, made some incredible accusations against Johnny Depp. Everyone went hashtag believe all women as if they're not people and people don't lie. And this is what you get. So I am really glad that AmberTurd is getting her ass handed to her. Plus, she looks kind of crazy as shit.
At one point in our conversations, I told him about how...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Please try to continue without what you said.
Hearsay. I know that.
I said something to him, and he got so angry at me, he slapped me across the face. But he did it, like, while crying. It was the weirdest thing. He was crying.
Dude, I don't believe a single word she fucking says. Like, not a single word coming out of her mouth. she looks as if she's so desperate to burst, just burst out in tears while she's doing it, you know? It doesn't look like she is actually afraid or actually sad. It looks like she's trying to be sad, which is just, it makes me very uncomfortable. She's a bad actress.
Saying no woman had ever embarrassed him like that. No woman had ever made him feel like that. I heard that for the rest of the trip, too, just on repeat. And
Well, she doesn't look like she can cry when she's acting. Because she's acting now and she's not crying.
And I felt bad. I feel bad. Still feel bad. But, you know, I didn't want to make him feel embarrassed. That's not what I wanted to do.
Where's the tears? Like, bitch, please. There has to be a tear. Just one lonely little tear just dripping down. Just you know what who they should have got to play this role? Meryl Streep. Now, Meryl Streep would have the whole world believe that Johnny Depp is a fucking bastard. They should have got Meryl Streep for this, I think. She would have been brilliant in this fucking
This
show.
was over my head. I don't know how to detox someone. You know, I don't know how to help them through that. And I shouldn't
Shouldn't have. But
have been there.
she could have made you believe that she would have. Apocalypse. Like, that woman can play anything.
You know, I don't.
Why were you there?
Because he asked me to.
Oh my fucking
And I
God,
didn't
dude.
know that was
I hate this bitch so much. I get
a
triggered
dumb
just
idea.
listening to
I don't know
her.
why anyone. No, why the doctors and nurses didn't tell me not to. I had no idea what that was going to look like or be like. And it was hell. You know, we're on an island. I'm trying to take care of him, and he was hallucinating and
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
overruled, screaming at me
Okay.
for things that I said when I didn't say any. I hadn't said anything. I would tell him, Johnny,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Well, I think in the context, Your Honor, it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted.
what's it for?
What's interesting and how you immediately know she's fucking lying, right? As soon as she goes, objection, hearsay, just look at how quickly her face changes from just how the fuck you don't turn it on and off like that? Like, if you're really sad, you're sad, right?
Well, I think in the context, Your
Things that I said when I didn't say any. I hadn't said anything. I would tell him, Johnny,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Well, I think in the
Just like that.
context, Your Honor,
Fuck.
it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted.
what's it for?
It's just telling the context of,
I'll sustain the objection. Thank you.
please continue and just say what he says and what he did and what your observations were.
He was accusing me of having a man in the house with me.
Cancel culture. This
We were
feels
in
like
a
long needed
single-
justice. I agree.
You know, in a cabinet. It's
I agree with
basically
you.
One room,
Midland.
a closet and a bathroom. I mean, there's nowhere to hide, really. I mean, there's a closet and a bathroom. And he, at one point, told me that I was hiding somebody in the house. Another point, he was communicating with someone not in the room.
Maybe it was on
would
his phone.
yell at me and then yell at someone else. It wasn't there. And I tried to ask for what I should do. I didn't know what to do. It was terrifying and strange. The whole week was...
So after you left the Bahamas and finished with the detox there, where did you go from there?
We, meaning Debbie Lloyd,
More ways than dinner. Oh shit.
Dr. Kipper, and I and Johnny, we flew back to LA, and he was going back and forth between saying he wasn't going to continue to, he was committed. It was back and forth. Everything was up, down, erratic, like changing every second. And we
Is there
got to
anyone in
LA,
chat
and
that
then
actually believes her?
Debbie and Kipper communicated with me. I won't say what they said, but I decided it would be probably in everyone's best interest if I went away to a hotel.
Dude, her
Johnny,
eyes
put
aren't red. There's not a single tear, right? She goes so fast from sad to neutral to sad again. It's astounding. If he was so bad, why the fuck did she stay with him for that long? Well, she says that she was abused, and therefore she just stayed with him. But based on what I'm hearing, she's the one that did the fucking abusing. Snow so far this morning. I hate you, Sophia. Ken Kaiser, because it's funny.
In this hotel while he finished the process of detox in LA, and I had my friends out with my girlfriends there to support me as per usual.
So Michelle, can you pull up 272, please?
There's no tears.
And after you both returned to LA, did Mr. Depp communicate with
Fuck!
you by text while you
Where
were
are the tears, you
apart
bitch?
while
What are
he
you
was finishing the detox?
wiping off?
Yes, he did.
Your Honor, I'd like to move
Fuck,
the admission
hell.
of 272.
Any
defendants
objection?
272.
Yes, Your Honor, to the first message. Excuse me, Your Honor, to the second.
You mean the response?
Right.
Just present sense of impression, but I'm understanding Your Honor's rulings on that. So
you wanna redact it?
can we
That's
redact that second message?
Dude, I don't know how you stayed married to this girl. She has crazy eyes. She's not even that hot, though. So,
All right.
I don't
Your
know.
Honor,
All right. Any objection to 272 redacted?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. 272 is in evidence, and we will.
the grey I heard.
And Amber, I'm going to show you now what is Defendant's Exhibit 272, and this is on August 20, 2014. It's a text message from Mr. Depp to you. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And what does it say? Just to let you know that I'm fine, my angel. I miss you, of course, but this is the right thing to do to speed up the process. I love you more than life. You're Steve. All right.
And just so that we
The
can
fuck is this
highlight
now?
here, he's calling you, he says, just to let you know that I'm fine, my angel, I miss you, of course, but this was the right thing to do to speed up the process. I love you more than life.
Wait.
Yours, Steve.
Wait, Johnny Depp's real name isn't Johnny Depp? I'm shocked. Blasphemous Crow, take care of yourself, brother. I am absolutely shocked. What's his real name? Steve what? Do we know? Or is it just Steve in this one? JD is Steve and Amber is Slim. Why would you have a fake name that's so different to the actual name? Each other names Steve is JD. Slim was but why though? Oh my god. There's little sexual repression that these types of people, both male and female manipulators, allow the abuse to indulge, for example. She has claimed that he would be violent sexual, and yet when the fappening leaks happened, a picture of her sending extremely graphic suggestions to someone came out. Oof. Oof. Real name? He uses nicknames, I guess? It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you use that nickname?
Steve, do you see that?
I do.
So what, if any, expressions was Mr. Depp giving you at this point that he was angry with you ever having to help participate with the detox or to be on the island or anything along that line?
Objection, form, compound.
I'll allow it, but just for trying to keep the record clear, 272 has already been entered into evidence without that redactions, and there wasn't any objection. So I would wish if I could have both sides to keep track of their evidence. It's not my job to keep this.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I just got a note to that effect.
This is
So-
so,
Okay, so
dude,
272
I feel like her
without
lawyers
any
make
redactions.
things worse.
It's really
They-
the party's responsibility to take care of the record. not
Amber
mine.
Heard's
apologies
lawyers
on that one.
don't seem to know what the fuck they're doing. Like, they're making things so much worse.
All right, and I overruled the objection,
Jesus.
so she can answer the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So yeah, I mean, it is just a
Sorry, can
train
you
smash.
remind me what the question was?
Yes,
That's fair.
that's fair. I said, what,
Wow,
if
okay,
anything,
that-
did Mr. Depp say about that you were torturing him on the
Wait a second. I can't live without you. You are my everything. There are no words. Just want you to be okay and happy. I love you more every single day. Can't imagine my life without you. All
island
right.
and he didn't want
That's
you?
nice.
Very confusing for me to hear that, because even though he was hallucinating and angry at me at various moments when he would have these kind of episodes, I did nothing but try to take care
I don't know,
of
the
him.
dancing Asian, who did that?
I
Did Johnny
nurse,
Depp's lawyers
I
do it
did my
there?
best to
Because that's
support
brilliant.
him.
One with the people.
And he thanked me. He thanked my mom. He thanked my dad. And told me, of course, I saved his life. That he wouldn't be able to make this change without me. And that this process was horrible and hard on him and us and me. But that he was so thankful that I was there for him.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
Okay, we can take this down now, Michelle, thank you. And I'm going to take you up to September, October.
Bro,
of
your acting is so bad.
2014.
Fuck!
Do you remember filming Magic Mike 2 in that time frame?
Yes, I do.
And what, if any, connections did you have with Mr. Depp in that time frame?
I think if there's one thing that stands out to me during this entire trial, let's imagine for a second, like, remove all the he said, she said bullshit and who's guilty and who isn't. The only thing that keeps coming to me throughout this entire process, these two people should not be together ever. Like, them being together is the worst possible fucking idea in the history of forever. They just seem like, in what other relationship do you have people that literally record each other whilst having conversations and communications? Like, not just her. She would record him, he would record her. It's like, dude, what the fuck were you two doing? Like, what is with all these recordings? Like, most people just have genuine arguments with one another, trying to fix it. Not, like, recording each other so that you can, what, prove later that they are guilty? Dude, they should never have been dating. Amber Heard confirmed. Fuck that. No one should be with her ever, if you ask me. Hey, there's a lot of crazy dudes out there that would jump at the opportunity to be with her.
Well, I bargained with him about me doing the role. He told me he would call the actors. It was a mostly male cast.
Take Breeze, how you doing, bro?
But I bargained with him.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Don't say what you said, just say what he said, okay?
He reluctantly kind of agreed to me working on this movie or taking a job. He was filming a different movie in London at the time.
Yeah, she is doing this whole. It seems like she's trying to pretend to be something.
I wore no makeup or minimal makeup in the movie. No sexy clothing. No kissing scenes. No sex scenes. So I went and did that film in October.
Excuse me, did she just say no makeup?
Going to play a sexualized character. I wore no makeup or minimal makeup in the movie.
Fuck you! You wore no makeup or minimal makeup in the movie. Dude, that is, like, genuinely impossible. as someone who studied acting, who played in multiple short films, and these are amateur short films. So we had the acting department where all the actors trained, and then literally just opposite of the fucking courtyard, we had the film department where all the film students sort of trained. And they would, every single third year student would have to come to the acting side to grab a bunch of actors for their short films. So I played in probably like 25 short films over the course of my entire sort of term of studying at university. And in every single one of those, you wear so much fucking makeup. Because with all the lights going on and the camera, if you're not wearing all that makeup, you look like you have fucking cancer and you're in your like 500th fucking chemo trial already. You look sick. Because you don't have enough color. The lights wash out literally everything. So the makeup puts all of that shit back that the lights take away. There's no way. There's no way. You're like not wearing makeup or minimal makeup. Fucking bullshit. Plus, just to be very honest with you, if you see what you look like with full makeup on, it looks weird. Without the lights in the film, you actually wouldn't go out like that because you're not made to look beautiful. It's sort of everything is over accentuated. So you'll have like very red cheeks because with the lights and the cameras on you, those red cheeks aren't as noticeable because it gets washed out. So you're effectively sort of building in darker lines and shit. It's a very weird look to anyone looking at this, but then on camera, it looks fine. And we're talking about like thick fucking makeup. Thick makeup. Whether you're a guy or a girl, doesn't matter. You're wearing a shit ton of makeup.
No sexy clothing. No kissing scenes.
Okay.
No sex scenes. So I went and did that film in October of 2014 in Georgia while he finished his movie in London. And then at some point he came out to pick me up in Georgia and was there for my last like day or two of filming.
I'm going to.
What was that
ask
story
you to
about?
Turn to Michelle. Can you bring up 310, please? Defendants 310.
Was there a point to that story? Dark Lord Soren, how you doing, brother?
Auditioning for another role in this time frame.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to object to the exhibit. That's hearsay.
Likely a lie, by the way, about how she couldn't act in movies because he was too controlling. But she did do the movie, though. Mad Beastie, how you doing? She did do the movie. She was just apparently not allowed to wear makeup, no sex scenes, no kissing scenes, nothing like that. Did anyone watch Magic Mike 2? Did she kiss no one? Did she have sex with no one in that film?
It is a text exchange, Your Honor, so, but the green is Mr. Depp.
So she did have guys grinding on her. All right. So he was fine with the guys grinding on her, just no sex scenes. Okay, that makes sense.
The one I'm...
Wait, what do you mean she just posed the camera while holding the tissue? What?
I'm going to ask you to turn to... Michelle, can you bring up 310, please? Defendants 310. Did you have communications with Mr. Depp about auditioning?
I don't know
for
about
another
that.
role?
I mean, the camera already went off.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to object to the exhibit. That's hearsay.
Look, I do not believe, like, whatever you want to make up about Amber Heard or whatever you want to believe, I do not think that she is sniffing cocaine while in court. Do you have any idea how much balls it would take to take, like, cocaine into a courtroom?
The one I'm
It would not happen.
most focused on is
I
on the
highly
second
doubt
page,
that.
Your Honor, the top.
The green bubble.
I highly doubt
Yes.
that. Shit could go so very wrong for you.
All right, So just that text?
Based on Your Honor's rulings, yes.
Any objection to that text?
No, thank you, Your
Okay,
Honor.
if we can get that redacted.
My God, dude. What's the media saying about
While that's
this,
being
by the way?
redacted, Amber, let me ask you, what, if anything was Mr. Depp saying to you in this time frame? We're talking November 2014, about you not working anymore or not taking on any more work or auditioning.
Objection, Your Honor. Compound.
They're all the
And
same
leading.
subset.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Johnny was angry with me for working. I had finished my job and I needed to eventually find another job, meaning a movie.
Oh my
to work
God.
on, and he was furious at me for, he found, like, we call them sides. They're just pieces of an audition, pages. And he found something that had been sent to me to consider auditioning for, and he blew up at me for, yeah, I think what he said to me is that I didn't tell him, that I didn't ask him, and that because he didn't know about that audition that I hadn't done yet, that I had been hiding it, and was furious at me.
Dude, she is just...
I ended up not doing that audition, I believe. Well, there was a few. One or two.
So
in
there's a
that
reason
time
why
that
I think she's
did
lying,
my-
and I'll tell you guys in a
I did
second why.
audition for it, and one or two that I didn't.
So when you, biologically speaking, when you have a woman cry and be sad and sort of be vulnerable, guys are almost biologically hardwired to react to that with sympathy. It's like the best way, and every girl that is married or has ever been in a relationship will know this. The quickest way to get your guy, if he's not a complete fucking maniac, to back down is to start crying. That's like the catch-all. As soon as you start crying, almost every guy that is kind of right in the head backs the fuck off. We're biologically hardwired to just... That's sort of the moment where you sort of feel sorry for her. You don't want to keep pushing. Even if you know that she's manipulating you with it, you still sort of feel bad for her. I didn't feel shit throughout this entire thing. It just felt fake. Just right off the bat, it just felt fake. It just didn't feel like anything coming out of her mouth was true. But it looks fake, and there's lots of facts against her. She admitted to cutting his finger in an audio they can't use in this trial. Oh, it's not about thinking if she's lying. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Well, it's not yet beyond a shadow of a doubt because the jury has not yet made that known, right? The jury have not come out yet and said, well, actually, she's just a lying piece of shit. Jury can't be that stupid. I'm not saying that the jury can't be that stupid, but they're stupid enough to actually be caught in jury duty. So, you know, like, I don't know. From what I've heard, what people have told me, it's actually not that hard to get out of jury duty. You just need to think a little bit and you can actually get out of it. So, I mean, these people still made it there and couldn't think of a reason not to be there. So, and juries have done worse things, in my opinion. So for us, we can already see beyond a shadow of a doubt, but unfortunately, most of these things cannot be used in this trial. To do is say Ayers is guilty on 27th May and go home. Tell them I'm racist, then I get out of it. Jury duty equals free money. I don't know how the jury duty thing works because in South Africa we don't have jury trials. Our trials are sort of usually either just one judge with like 2 assistant judges or 3 judges. That sit on like massive trials will have 3 judges. The bad thing is she made a really bad press for real victims. I mean, the problem, and this is sort of what I said from the beginning with the whole Me Too movement, as well as the sort of gamer Me Too movement, my main issue with the entire thing was there's so many people that will automatically come out and just say things have happened to them just so that they can also be part of it. Right? So they also want people to feel sorry for them and people to sort of look at them as heroes that have survived something, that they'll come out and they'll just be like straight up saying bullshit. I don't know if you guys remember during the gaming Me Too movement, you had that one girl that came out against Swifty. Do you guys remember the whole Swifty thing? There was this girl that claimed that Swifty had done a bunch of things to her. And then just literally the next day, so YouTube, Blizzard immediately dropped Swifty from all of their games and all of their content. Swifty got dropped. But then literally the next day, a bunch of girls that have been with Swifty on holiday, that have been alone with Swifty, came out and said, they don't know what the fuck this girl is talking about. Like, Swifty has never done anything like this. This is not what Swifty does. And then sort of much later, people sort of figured out that this is not the first time this girl have accused people of doing things to her. Like, she's been a part of every single Me Too movement. And I said from the beginning, this sort of, so we have a massive problem in the world today. And I don't know if there's a way to fix it, but I hate the fact that people air these kinds of things on Twitter. Because it's become, in my opinion, trial by public opinion. Because as soon as you put that shit out on Twitter, like as soon as you accuse someone of something on Twitter, the public jury immediately fucking convicts you of whatever. And as soon as that happens, you are fucked. You're fucked. So what stops people from just making up shit? What stops people from just making things up and just
Why,
going
Mr. Depp?
ape shit? Johnny Depp's funniest moments in court. All right, let's see this.
Couldn't or wouldn't look you in the eye here or in the UK. You said, yes, you know. Why?
Because he's guilty.
I mean, Johnny Depp definitely came across as a very likable person so far. Disco Option, thanks for the 2 months update. Really appreciate it. 5 months in a row. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. But Johnny Depp really have come across as a more likable person.
Shades. There's this light coming across.
I appreciate that. It's probably good light.
You've left nothing and I've left everything. So suck your dick.
Yeah, go on.
Which is probably your next move because it's what you fucking need. No, I don't want to suck your dick. I don't want nothing to do with your fucking midsection.
Need something. You want.
Well, go get it, man.
Because I need something. No shit, I can't. Suck your dick.
I don't want to. Oh, is it? What is it?
No, I'm sure Rochelle's available.
Oh, I love that. I don't want to.
I'm sure she's available.
Maybe she is.
Bro.
That fake laugh. That fake laugh is too much to take.
No, I'm sure she's.
That fake laugh is so disgusting.
I'm sure she's great.
I love how as soon as he says on the tape, I don't want to, he actually fucking starts laughing at himself. It's like, that was a really good line.
I'm sure she's great.
thinking that you've been giving me some of the best performances in all the
No,
fucking
you're
shows.
right, I don't. It's all about performance.
How I don't regret. I don't regret.
What else? What else? What else other things do you want to add
Can't talk
to
to
your
you
fucking
sound
life? You
Bobby,
said,
but-
what? Oh,
Like
no,
a
I
kid
want
show.
to know.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Get out your Ubers
I'm
out.
kind of waiting. Go get it.
It just sounds defending myself.
Yeah.
Lol.
Wait, is there no other place for you to run in your 15 other houses?
Could you tell the jury what the coaster was that he slipped into your pocket, what it said?
I said, I love you forever, my Slim, dead or alive.
And what, if anything, did it have in addition?
His new phone number.
And to be, just so we're clear, on how many occasions in that second mediation did Mr. Depp look you in the eye?
Many.
Okay. And when Ms. Vasquez asked you if you knew why Mr. Depp couldn't or wouldn't look you in the eye here or in the UK, you said, yes, you know. Why? Please tell the jury why.
Because he's guilty. Because he knows he's lying.
Lol.
Otherwise, why can't he look at me?
Thank you.
Just nothing. I don't want to. I wouldn't want to look at her either. Like, fucking hell, dude. Why would anyone want to look at her?
You were asked about it.
I survived. I survived that man, and I'm here, and I'm able to look at him.
Fucking
I can't hear
thinking
you.
that I'm going on a road with a
Turn
band.
on my head. I can't hear you.
You told Mr. Depp to suck your dick multiple times, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You tell him to go run to his 15 other houses, right?
That's correct.
Because that's what he would do when you behave like this, isn't it?
Eventually, he would go and stay in one of the other houses.
You call him a sellout, don't you?
I was expressing frustration about his criticism of my career and how many problems that caused within the dynamic of our relationship, yes.
So you call him a sellout and a joke?
I called him horrible, ugly things, as you can hear. And
Sellout.
We spoke to each other in a really horrible way.
Pretty sure we just heard you speak to him in a really horrible way. You called him a sellout,
I just
right, Miss
disagree.
Heard? You called him a sellout, right, Miss Heard?
I called him a lot of ugly things.
And a joke.
I called him a lot of ugly things.
You called him a joke on that recording. You called him a washed-up piece of shit.
I think we both called each other
sure.
that on that occasion, yes.
Mr. Depp mentions Aquaman, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
Excuse me?
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
No, Miss Vasquez, I got myself that role by auditioning. That's how
Mr.
that
Depp
works.
says, quote, your jealousy is so tragic.
Lol.
I heard him say that, yes.
You were the jealous one in this relationship, weren't you, Miss Heard?
I think he was indicating I was jealous of his career.
But now you've twisted it to say it was Mr. Depp that's the jealous one.
Johnny's always been very jealous when I worked, when I did anything, friends. Yes, he's always been very jealous.
Isn't he aware that Mr. Depp has testified under oath that he would not take another Pirates of the Caribbean franchise role for $300 million and a million alpacas?
No.
Would Disney entertain paying Mr. Depp more than $300 million and provide him with more than a million alpacas to be able to obtain his services for any future Pirates of the Caribbean role?
No.
So you would have been marked as deposition exhibit number.
Bro, what the fuck? Just reading that out, it's like, why the fuck are you doing that? Like, asking someone at Disney, so would you be willing to pay Mr. Depp more than $300 million and a million alpacas? It's like, what are you hoping for here? Like, what exactly are you hoping for the answer to be? Oh my God.
Beginning here, you were asked by Ms. Vasquez about why Mr. Depp won't or can't look you in the eye. And she read out, or she played a tape in which Mr. Depp said,
Yeah,
"You
she
will not
is.
see my
Rachel's
eyes
like
again."
really
You recall
bad.
that?
I do.
And that was during the mediation process in July, correct?
That was
Objection leading.
first one.
Sustained
Okay.
is deleting.
When was this?
That was in July of 2016. That was the first mediation attempt. We met after that, and Johnny very much looked me in the eye.
Please tell the jury about the next meeting after he said, "You will not see my eyes again."
We met in the lawyer's office. They gave us a moment. Johnny kissed me again, held me. I cried, he cried, and then we had a short exchange, and he put a note in my pocket that said, "I'll love you dead or alive, my Slim."
They're not even saying hello.
What's up, fellas? How you doing? Thank you so much. I just made breakfast for all of them this morning. Waffles.
Good morning. How are you?
Dude, what the fuck?
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Have a great day.
To take a look.
Wow, when even the police at the courthouse is like, yeah, get the fuck in, your bitch. And then Johnny rocks up and they're like, good morning, how you guys doing? Happy to have you here. Come on in. Like, you know you're fucked, right? When even the police are like, yeah, bitch, shut the fuck up.
Look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 881A.
Guy
This
is
is
an
one
OG.
of the articles
Shima.
containing the
Rude.
counterclaim statements by Adam Waldman. Is that correct?
I haven't seen the article yet.
Why don't we go to page 8 of this article?
Oh my God, that's the moment. That's the face you make when you just said something and then you realize, oh shit, they have evidence that directly contradicts what I just said. And you're immediately thinking about, how can I change this? How can I change this? Draxide, how you doing, bro?
Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as a sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is that one of the statements that you allege are defamatory? It's defamatory?
That's correct.
Ms. Heard, you tweeted at Adam Waldman, quote, yes, Mr. Waldman, I may be wearing makeup on this occasion, but on every occasion you will still be short. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay. Shaming short people, are we?
We can put this down. Thank you. Ms. Heard, since
Better
your
hope there's no
relationship
short
with Mr.
people
Depp
on the
ended,
jury.
You've completed your level 3 sommelier training, haven't you?
I haven't completed it yet. I
You're
just
on level
stopped.
2.
No, I'm on level 3.
You also have had a baby, right?
I have.
And you enjoy being a mother?
More than anything.
You still love to cook?
Jesus. Maybe not everyone should be mothers. I'm not saying that more people isn't a good thing. But, you know, some people maybe shouldn't be mothers. Like, this could be a fuck up down the line.
I do.
And you love to hike?
I've taken a break on hiking for a minute.
You have friends, right?
I do have friends.
And you spend time with those friends?
Occasionally, when I can.
And you exercise regularly?
Every day.
You just filmed a movie in March of 2022, isn't that right?
Yes, the one I just shot in Guatemala that I spoke of earlier.
And you have, you had a major role in a major film that's scheduled to be released soon. Is that correct? Aquaman 2?
As I said, I don't know if I will even be in the final cut or how much I will be. It was difficult to stay in the movie.
From me, or coming from Jerry, from me, so that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
You slipped up there, didn't you, Ms. Heard? You let it slip out that TMZ had been alerted to your filing of the domestic violence restraining order, didn't you?
I disagree. That's not what I'm talking about.
TMZ is the same outlet that you released the video of Mr. Depp attacking the kitchen cabinets the day before this.
Or how
Isn't
much
that
I will be. It was
exactly
difficult
like,
to stay in the movie.
From me, or coming from Jerry, from me, so that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
Huh. Hasn't she, like, constantly said that she didn't leak anything to TMZ? Hasn't that been, like, one of the cornerstones of her defense, is, like, she did not fucking release anything? Bro, like, the fact that she's doing this, she's covering her own mouth to try and put the words back into her mouth. She's trying to stop the words from going out. You know, like, this is just, how can you say this? Look at that.
So that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
Fuck! That was bad. Shit. Oh, shit.
You slipped up there, didn't you, Miss Heard? You let it slip out that TMZ had been alerted to your filing of the domestic violence restraining order, didn't you?
I disagree. That's not what I'm talking about.
TMZ is the same outlet that you released the video of Mr. Depp attacking the kitchen cabinets the day before this deposition was taken, wasn't it?
I didn't do that. I don't know
TMZ
how
owns
to do
the
that.
copyright to that video now, doesn't it?
I have no idea what TMZ
Did they
owns.
pay you for that?
Do that.
Attacking the kitchen cabinets the day before this deposition was taken, wasn't it?
I didn't do that. I don't
TMZ
know how
owns
to do
the
that.
Wait, she doesn't know how to give TMZ a video? What? Just give them the fucking, like, literally don't even have to put it on a tape and drive down. You can just WhatsApp it to them.
Copyright to that video now, doesn't it?
I have no idea what TMZ
Did they
owns.
pay you for that?
I never got paid for it because I had nothing to do with that.
So TMZ was just lucky in getting the inside scoop to your divorce from Mr. Depp, huh?
I have no idea. It is not, that's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Bro, what the?
He said, hips and thighs. Hips.
And also, what does that get me? If I wanted to leak things about Johnny, I could have done that in a much more successful way, in a bigger way, for years.
Not
and
when
years.
you were extorting him for $7 million.
I got a fraction of what I was entitled to in the state of California, by the way. Right. What extortion?
Is that right?
That is correct.
So it was during these cycles of violence in 2012 that you gave Mr. Depp a knife as a gift.
I gave him a knife, I think for a birthday present early in our relationship. I believe it was around 2012, but I'm not certain.
That's nice.
We've
Your
seen a picture of that
abuser
knife,
gets
but
a
I
knife?
think we should bring out the real thing.
So,
Yes, that's it.
you don't feel like he's not doing enough damage with his fists. You really want to give him the leg up.
I gave it to him, that's for certain.
But you gave it to him while he was abusing you, allegedly.
I gave it to him that year.
Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, I do.
Those locks were to the penthouses at the Eastern Columbia building, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Mr.
You changed the
Anderson,
locks
how
to
you
the
doing, bro?
penthouses on May 22nd, 2016.
Oh, this is such a train smash.
That's why you felt comfortable having James Franco over the evening of May 22nd, 2016, Ms. Heard?
I do not know when James came over.
Okay, let's remind you. Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 304, which is already in evidence, and play from 254 through 439?
Matt Busy, that is true. Wait,
You and Mr. Franco on May 22nd.
did they both get into the elevator trying to hide their eyes or what? What were they doing? Like, why is she walking towards him so fucking weird? She did show her face to the camera already.
You and Mr. Franco on May 22nd, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
And you're taking him up to the penthouses, aren't you?
That's where I lived, yes.
And it's past 11 p.m. at night, isn't that right?
I'm not quite sure of the time it looked like that.
You knew Mr. Depp was out of town on May 27th when you went to get the domestic violence restraining order, isn't that right?
I don't know if I knew that at the time.
You knew Mr. Depp was heading out on a European tour that week, isn't that right?
I'm not quite sure what I understood of his schedule at that time.
You knew he wouldn't be back for weeks, right?
No, that's incorrect.
What? So he was going to Europe for the day, like an afternoon trip? Like, yeah, he would probably be gone for a while. Hi there, I watched this one live on Asmongold's channel. How you doing, bro? Amber actually goes so mad for the attention. He gets in the court as well. You can... Wait. What's this? Oh, she really dislikes the fact that everyone loves him. Dude, this is like the best way to make yourself the villain of the entire world. Like, just how could you fuck things up so badly that everyone now hates you? Can you imagine that? That is a talent. That is a talent, dude. Oh my God. I don't know, dude. I think the reason like I enjoy this as much as I do is just it's nice to see people. It's nice to see the high and mighty, you know, the sort of. So one of the things I've always respected about Johnny Depp is the fact that he doesn't live his life publicly. So Johnny Depp is one of those actors that prefers to just not be in the public eye, like at all. Outside of movies, how often do you see Johnny Depp in anything? Like, outside of movies, how often do you read about him in articles without this bullshit now? He doesn't really live his life in the public eye. He just sort of does his movies and then goes whatever the fuck he does. But with Amber Heard, it's sort of nice to see someone like this fall. Someone that believes that they're so fucking good and then gets destroyed thanks to their own, like, asshole shit. I mean, her entire case is based on she didn't defame him because he was already disliked. That is literally her entire case defense. He is an actor to be an actor. The benefits are just a side effect. She is an actor for the side effects, and that's why she is a shit actress. So fucking true. She makes us look like Mother Teresa. Dude, true. I mean...
Look, she's gonna copy him. She's looking at him. She's looking at him.
I can't say with any specificity the number of
Now.
times there was one instance
Copying him, looking at him. Wow.
She's...
Look.
Dude, she's really trying. She's like putting that acting work... like that acting practice to work. Like, I have to be like him.
Now.
I have to be like
Copying him, looking at him. Wow.
Because maybe that's why people like him. It's got nothing to do with his personality or the fact that he's not an asshole. It's to do with the fact that he sits that way. She even copies clothes. So far, she did 4 suits the same. Dude, this bitch is crazy as fuck. She is so nuts. I don't know how anyone can still be behind this girl. So I was asking you guys earlier, what is most of the mainstream media saying about this? Like, in Europe, like what you guys have seen, what's most of the mainstream media saying about this? I can agree with our Apocalypse. There's a Reddit on her, I think. Of course there's a Reddit on her. Divided. So most of the media is divided on the issue of Amber Heard. mainstream media is hashtag believe all women. Internet popular consumed media is all justice for Johnny. Some support trash woman always. Others just monitor facts. Mass media sides with Turd. Most of the public side with Johnny. Well, it's always nice when I see the mainstream media get fucked. Friends, Rocky's video was so weird on how she had these pauses during her testimony. This girl made the video, which killed me.
Do you recall where the dogs were when you were in the bedroom, April 22nd, 2016?
Is an argument between two vegans still called a beef?
At some point, Miss Heard left.
I can't wait till he stops talking so I can go back and chew on Amber's hair.
And she went to Penthouse 3, correct? At some point that
dang, was she talking to me this whole time?
Yes.
Wait,
was anybody
am I supposed to act
prepared
sad
for that show?
or bored? Why won't anybody buy my beads?
What the hell is this?
Do you remember where
I hope they talk about me on the Popcorn Planet live stream today. My butt itches. I don't know why. I took a bath.
Doing when you received this message?
Oh shoot, what'd she say?
Best friend at the time. At the time.
Did you use the key to open
So she's no longer the best friend?
the door?
Yes.
Please.
Are my farts essential oils?
Point Mr. Duff's security team came in, is that correct?
Line?
You also observed injuries to Miss Heard's face, correct?
It's so itchy. I'm just gonna keep scratching it.
And another set of 2 officers.
Oh my
came later in the
god,
night,
she's
is that
still
correct?
blabbering?
Correct.
Between the first set of officers
What
leaving and the second set of
is
officers
a perjury?
So her friends are all weirdos that now no longer in contact with her, but are obligated to commit to their story of events since the UK trial.
Who keeps coughing? What happened?
What UK trial?
I don't remember exactly.
What UK trial? Wait, I'm fucking missing something. Being questioned by Johnny's team compared to Amber's. Her whole interviews are different and she's crying, etc. for Amber's. So, just to be clear, Amber Heard have lost contact with all of her friends since this bullshit started. The son for calling him wife beater? Ah. Did he win? Lost the trial against the son, where the whole trial was biased towards Amber and based their case on hearsay. There was a trial in the UK that Johnny lost. He sued the son in the UK for calling him a wife beater. But now what's interesting is if Johnny wins this case, can he reopen the case against the son? Because if it's confirmed that this was in fact defamation, wouldn't he then be able to sue the son again for defamation? Because now there's already legal precedent. If he wins this, he can claim perjury bias in the UK trial. Only objective here is to win the public opinion. I mean, he's already done that, which is why I don't think it even matters what the jury decides. I think publicly, Johnny Depp have already been vindicated. I don't think there's many people in the public that actually still think that Johnny Depp is actually guilty of this. I think most people hate AmberTurd. So for most people, this is sort of like an easy one. Of course, the 10% of mentally ill people on Twitter will still hashtag believe AmberTurd, but most people won't. And that's really all that matters here. It's president US courts. I don't think UK courts really care about that. Disco option, it would still be like confirmed, right? Sophia, thanks for the 5 community subs. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very much appreciated. Court claimed him being called wife beater is substantially true, which is absurd since that was never tested in court. Well, the problem, Domago, is... So scope of trial is very important. This is something a lawyer friend of me told me years ago. if you, for example, sue the Sun, saying that they called you wife beater and that's defamation, the trial isn't to determine whether or not you are a wife beater. That's not what the trial is about, because you didn't sue AmberTurd for calling you a wife beater. You sued the Sun for calling you a wife beater. So all the Sun has to prove is that they had every reasonable reason to believe that you were a wife beater based on the evidence that was available at the time. The court case, the scope of the case, isn't to determine whether or not you are in fact the wife beater, because that's not what you sued for. The only thing that's going to depend here is whether or not the UK courts will actually accept a trial in the US, like the outcome of a trial in the US. Will the UK courts accept that as like legally binding, which they don't, I think, have to. It's absurd. In Roman law court, that would never stand. What do you mean, Dowago? I mean, I'll be honest with you. So the UK has a jury trial system as well, no? You guys use jury trials as well? Herberder, I don't know. I think I think the UK has two different systems. Like, they have a system where only a judge resides, and then they also have jury cases. And I think it depends on what kind of case it is. So in criminal cases, Rick said, TM, thanks for the follow, dude. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. In criminal cases, it's jury. But then if you have sort of civil cases or something to that effect, then it's just the judge. I think they have a dual system. South Africa, on the other hand, has the singular, like, judges system, not jury system. Yeah, so South Africa doesn't have a jury system at all. Or the other way around. So yeah, it sort of depends, I guess, for the UK. Although the US also have judge only. Not all trials in the US is jury trials. Like, even in the US, there are court cases that is only determined by a judge and not by a jury. Don't have professional legal understanding. But anyways, yeah, so if Johnny Depp opened a new trial now, the Sun is fucked. Because every single member of the public have now seen the trial. So Johnny Depp wouldn't even have to do anything. Johnny Depp would literally walk into court, go, have you seen the fucking trial? And they'll be like, yeah. And he'll be like, okay, well, what do you think? Do they owe me money or not? And the Sun would be left paying like a couple of million at least for defamation. To a jury trial, you can waive that right. Also, the burden of proof is different in the UK. How is the burden of proof different? I mean, the burden of proof is always on the state. Unless, of course, you're talking about where there isn't a state involved, so it's between two people. Yeah, I've watched Legal Eagle. Be the first time the Sun wrote lies, though. I mean, name one media publication that doesn't lie for a living. I'll wait. Plus the Walrus, that's only in criminal cases, and it's called double jeopardy. So, and not all countries have that, FYI. The US have double jeopardy, where you cannot be convicted or you cannot be tried for a case that you've been that you've been found not guilty on. So if, for example, you're tried for murder and they find you guilty or not guilty, you can't be tried for that same murder. It's to sort of stop prosecutions from just coming after you with every new piece of evidence that they bring up. Although I believe there's a snag to that as well. Like, the movies love to make it seem like you can walk out of the courtroom and basically go, yeah, I did kill her. XYZ is the reason. And I don't actually think that's how... I still don't think you can actually just admit then that you did it. I don't think double jeopardy would save you in that regard. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. A little bit more complicated. You can still reopen a case by appealing it. It's that they can't try you multiple times for the same crime. What about OJ? I don't know. I believe it's state-based. Feds can still go get you with new evidence. I don't know. You cannot be retried based on the same evidence. Yeah, that's the one. So there are states in the US, I think, that has like severe double jeopardy. So, for example, once you're found not guilty, you are found like not guilty. And therefore you can't be, but there's also, dude, it's so weird. I'm obviously not an expert on this, but there's such a thing as being found not guilty with prejudice and then not guilty without prejudice. And that also determines things. So if you're found not guilty with or without, that actually can open the door to double jeopardy being waived, whereas the other one will basically lock it in place. So it's a fuck up, to say the least. Open cases, but you have to get new evidence and get the judge to allow it, and even then can be appealed to Supreme Court if you can file the case again. Yeah. So there's a bunch of legal jargon that makes no fucking sense whatsoever to the average person, and one almost feels like it was designed not to make sense to the average person. Which is weird, considering the law is meant for the average person, but then it's also done in such a way that the average person has no fucking clue what's going on there. Which makes sense, I guess, since why wouldn't you? The whole thing, though, is hopefully it will teach false flaggers to stop their bullshit, since all it does is harm those actually suffering. Apocalypse, I agree with you. Which is why I would be well in favor of jail time for people that sort of make false accusations. If you falsely accuse someone of rape or sexual harassment or anything like that, and it's proven that it was false, I think you should get jail time. Because you are effectively hurting those people that actually suffer from shit like that. Is an new trial. Appeals are only to say that in the trial, the law was not applied correctly. TLDR, I think Johnny will lose the case by the letter of the law, but he won the PR case by a mile. I don't know about that, though. I think Amber Heard is going to lose this one. The truth is, throughout the court case, she has shown herself to be a dishonest actor. Right? So she's constantly been caught lying. She's constantly changing her stories. She says things, even in the videos we just watched. She'll say something, and then they'll have literal evidence of her actually saying something else previously. Now, once you get into stuff like that, defamation actually becomes pretty easy to prove. Because as far as I know, the bare minimum for defamation is that someone else acted with malice. So the story that they made up was done with malice. They didn't just make up a story. They made up the story to hurt you. That's literally what they tried to do. Now, in that sense, I think that's already been proven. By literal law, she was not an abusee, because at worst it was equal footing, a toxic relationship, not a one-side abuse. So she did defame him by saying so. It will be a hung jury. You think so? She's man has made flesh, unfortunately. Yeah, you need all 12 people to agree, right? If there's even one person that disagrees, it's a hung jury. Jesus. Sophia, that is quite fucking rough. Depends on the judge's orders. She lost her credibility, Saints. That's all she had. True. 51% might. You see, this is what I mean. It's so weird. Like, either it's majority rules or it's not majority rules. Why do we have to have different, like, fucking jury states for deciding these things? Outside of this trial and can't be used, so I doubt he'll win. If he does, it'll set a precedent that I think the court would want to avoid. Weasel, so remember, you can still have inferred justice, right? So what happens is, even though the actual piece of evidence isn't allowed within the trial, so the piece of evidence where she actually admits to doing what she did, right? Even if that's not allowed in trial, if like, say, for example, AmberTurd in this regard makes herself out to be completely untrustworthy, the jury can 100% just infer that she is untrustworthy on everything else that she said as well. Now, you could get a deferred judgment, which you could be... I think the jury is going to come back with guilty. What we could see is the judge deferring the judgment, right? So the judge could say, well, actually, no. Based on the evidence that's been presented, there is no evidence that this is in fact defamation, and therefore I'm just not going to even send it to the jury. So we could get that. Is he suing her for 50 million? I don't know. Because there's also a weird thing in the US. They have punitive damages as well, which I don't know how it works. So you have... First, there's money that's applied, but then there's also punitive damages. And I don't know what punitive damages is, but those can sometimes be really fucking high. Sufficient evidence weighing favorably for the plaintiff when Amber's team tried to get the case dismissed. So the judge is most likely not going to defer. Apocalypse, that's basically what you're saying. If the jury came back with a judgment of guilty, the judge will probably not defer. To prove that he defamed her, too, by choosing to come out? Dude, what the fuck? Like, her entire case is bonkers, then. Wait, what's this? Let's see.
Thank you. Your motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. I can only assume that Mr. Chu wrote that speech for an audience outside the court because it didn't really address my arguments. I'm going to focus on what our specific arguments are for the motion to strike, Your Honor. Mr. Chu spent almost 30 minutes of the court's time talking about the disputed evidence of physical abuse in this case, which Ms. Hurd hasn't even put on her case, and I can tell you she's not the abuser, and if the case moves forward, she and her witnesses will put on even more evidence of the physical abuse she suffered at the hands of Mr. Depp. But that's not the basis for our motion right now, Your Honor. He talks about how Mr. Depp had a sworn denial, and that should count. We read his testimony. He claims he...
I love how this lawyer is doing the whole, trust me, bro. Like, that's his whole thing. So, Your Honor, he was saying that there's no evidence of abuse. But there is, and if, by the way, Your Honor, they continue with this case, like, if they fucking push us, we'll hit back. Because we have all the evidence. Trust me, bro. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to scare them? Like, why are you saying it like that? That's such a weird way of saying it. No, we will prove it. We'll prove that he abused her. Allows deferred judgment only if defendant pleads guilty.
He didn't strike her. But again, that's not
this
the
isn't
basis
in
for our
California,
motion.
though.
The basis for our motion is the clear and undisputed evidence of non-physical abuse by his definitions, by his standards, by the standards of his experts. There is no dispute that Mr. Depp abused Amber. And therefore, if he did it even one time, there's no dispute that even under their theory of the case, the implication that they want the jury to draw from the article, which again, I'm not arguing for the purposes of today, because under the legal standard, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to waste the court's time with that. But even under their standard, the undisputed evidence is that Mr. Depp did commit abuse against Ms. Heard, and therefore that those first two statements were false. That's our argument on that. As to the headline, it's funny, Mr. Chu, we played 2 or 3 hours of an ACLU deposition. Now he says, well, that wasn't our witness. It was his witness, Your Honor. He just spent 10 minutes talking about what Mr. Doherty said, and Mr. Doherty testified that the Washington Post wrote the headline. That is the only evidence, Your Honor. I understand he says, well, Exhibit 1 has her name on it. Exhibit 1 has her name on it. But the only evidence in this case about who wrote that headline is Mr. Doherty's testimony. It is undisputed. They could have put anyone else on. They could have called Ms. Heard for that because that was not part of the stipulation at the pretrial conference. It was only the tweet that we talked about, Your Honor, and they chose not to do that. Now, Ms. Heard will testify she didn't write that headline, so it wouldn't have helped them. But they've had 3 weeks to put on their case, Your Honor. They've controlled the playing field of evidence. There is no dispute that Ms. Heard did not write that headline. No dispute. Simply saying, well, her name is attached to it, that can't overcome the testimony of the ACLU. They call them a co-conspirator. Of course, Mr. Depp chose not to sue them. But the testimony of Terrence Doherty that she didn't write that headline, that takes care of the sexual violence headline, Your Honor. And I'm not going to take up any more of the court's time addressing portions of Mr. Chu's argument that don't go to our motion, unless Your Honor has any specific questions. But I want to be respectful.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. For this motion, I've taken the arguments of counsel, and last night I reviewed all of the evidence that has been submitted in this matter. So as to the second and third alleged defamatory statements, at the motion to strike at this juncture, I view the evidence in light most favorable to the plaintiff and reasonable inferences from the evidence to the plaintiff. And if there is a scintilla of evidence that a reasonable juror could weigh, then the matter survives a motion to strike. In this matter, there is evidence in the case that a jury could weigh that the statements were made by the defendant, that the statements were about the plaintiff, that the statement was published, that the statement is false, and the defendant made the statement knowing it to be false, or the defendant made it so recklessly as to amount to a willful disregard for the truth.
By asking the same exact
the weight of
question,
that evidence is up to the fact finder.
The
So
great,
the motion
pretty
to strike
true.
is denied as to statement 2 and 3. The motion to strike as to statement 1, I'm going to take under advisement because if it's not a stipulation, I'm not sure what it is, but there seems to be an agreement that the tweet of Ms. Heard is part of the plaintiff's evidence, which is not in evidence at this point. So I can't rule on that statement whether or not it is just a tweet or if it's some sort of republication or something. I don't know because I haven't seen it yet. So as to the motion to strike on statement 1, I'm going to take an advisement because ruling on it now, it would be premature because I just don't have that evidence in the case, okay?
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right. Since it's 12:30, you want to just take lunch?
Yeah, we win. It's funny that this has become like us versus them kind of thing, but why not, right? Why not? Guys, I wish I could react to more, but my power is about to go out in 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, I will be without electricity, so I can't watch anymore. But I will be back tomorrow night, and we can continue whatever the fuck this charade is. Wait, what is this? Wow. The people do not like her, bro. Oh, shit. Dude, what the fuck? People really enjoy this guy? Man, it must be hard for Amber. of your JD Classic if you want to shove it still. I can't really because they don't always switch the power off at exactly 6 o'clock. So I don't want to push it because we've had it where it's 10 minutes prior, sometimes 5 minutes prior, sometimes 10 minutes late. So I can't really know when they're going to fucking like switch off the power exactly. But yeah, please cast the thought to myself as you guys sit there in your nice first world countries where you always have electricity and you don't have to fucking worry about bullshit, while I'll be spending my evening, you know, in complete and utter fucking darkness as the Lord intended, you know, when the earth was first created and there was no electricity. It really makes me feel great. Anyways, guys, I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have power failure again at 6 o'clock my time. So literally right this time, the power will go off. So instead, what we'll be doing is we'll start when my power comes back on. So we're going to start quite a bit later tomorrow night than we usually start. So we'll start like 8:30, 9 o'clock is when the stream will start. Podcast Apocalypse, we're going to do just before the stream. So probably around 3 o'clock your time is when we'll do the podcast. And then power goes off. Once the power comes back on, I'll go live. We'll react. We'll play some Final Fantasy. We'll play some Stanley Parable. And all that shit. Because my power will be on at 8:30. Sometimes a little bit later. But, you know, fuck it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm sorry that it's only been 3 hours and that I can't do more. I wish I could do more. Life fucking blows at the minute, and there's really nothing I can do about it. But still, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon, your morning, your evening with me. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I will see all of you back here tomorrow for just hopefully some epic entertainment. So please be kind to each other. Be good to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.